All right, guys, I'm back. Let's get started. Has everyone validated the status of the portals? Yeah.
Yes, Raghuveer. Yes.
Okay. Let's have a look at it. So this is what we need to validate. We need to make sure that the number of endpoints. Hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. So we need to make sure that the number of endpoints that we have shown here, which shows managed by Defender for endpoint, it should be the same over here. If you see, now for 3 devices, it says unknown. The reason it says unknown for these devices because they have been deleted, right? So it says managed by MDE. So now the same number of devices that it says managed by MDE, I should see in the portal. In the Intune portal, I should be able to see those devices here. So I see all my devices that I actually have, so which is good. Now, as a next step, what we need to do is everyone, now I want everyone to be on the screen. Is everyone on the screen now?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, guys, when it comes to deploying policies and configurations in Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Cloud App Security, Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Vulnerability Management, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, there is one thing is common, which is group. You need to group systems based on their properties, whether they belong to a specific business unit or department, whether they belong to the production or non-production environment, whether they cater to a specific application based on certain regulatory standards and compliances. You need to create a group. It is not a good habit to deploy a policy or a control to the entire organization. You cannot, it's not like, one size fits all. So the first thing that you need to do here is to create a group. So let's create a group first so that we can start to apply policies. Now our objective is to configure indicators. Our objective is to configure deny, and our objective is to block or warn users when they browse a specific public IP or a URL or a domain or an application. That is my first configuration that I want to do. And to do that configuration, I would need to enable network protection or smart screens filter feature on all the devices. And that is only possible that you can do from individual device. And so this is a new requirement that Defender for Endpoint has put. It was not there in April when I delivered my last training on the same subject. This was only mandated probably in May or probably in June. I don't have the exact date, but when I tested the behavior, I could see on the documentation that it specifically says that network protection must be enabled. So in order to enable network protection on a device, you can run a PowerShell script. You can enable it through group policy, or you can enable it through antivirus policy also. Because now that we have Defender deployed on all the devices, Defender has an advanced anti-malware. So we can configure anti-malware to deploy the network protection, enable the network protection, or we can also configure the attack surface rule for the same. So there are multiple ways to do it. So I will share a way which is the most easiest and configurable also. And that also includes other configuration for Defender. So first thing first, let's create a group. Okay. So you all need to be on the Intune Admin Center. There we will create a group. Now it is not that you will create a group here. You can also create a group in security portal. But since we are primarily focusing on Defender for Endpoint configuration, so we'll create a group here. So you need to click on create a group. And when you create a group, when you click on all groups, it will show you all the groups which are getting synchronized from AD. So you can create the group in Microsoft Azure portal also. You can create a group in Defender portal also. You can create a group in Intune also. So let's do that in Intune, because we are going to, the reason I'm not creating it in Azure portal or Defender portal, because then it will get synchronized to these portals. And probably that synchronization may take time. So avoid, to save time here, I will directly create a group here. So I'll click on create a new group. I'll select the group. I'll provide a group name, whatever name you want to give. You provide that group name. So I'll provide the group name as, let's say, MDE, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint VM, MDE VM, and then group description, whatever you want to put. Microsoft Entra roles can be assigned to this group. No, the purpose of this group to add endpoints, not identities. So we will click on no. Membership will be assigned, then owners, and then members. This is the most important part. So we'll click on members. We'll select members for this group. So what I'll do, I'll select members here for this group, and my members are not users. My members are devices which are synchronized here. So it will show you all these synchronized devices basically. So you select your synchronized devices, all the synchronized devices, and then you click on select. So select all the endpoints that have been synchronized, because any policy that you want to deploy it on all the endpoints, right? So let's select them. And then for group owner, you can select your Defender XDR user. Why are you selecting Defender XDR here? Because Defender XDR is also the administrator of Defender for Endpoint. So we select it and then we hit create. All right, is that completed, guys?
Yes.
Great. So now that the group is created, now to enable network protection, what are we going to do? Let's enable network protection directly from here. All right, guys. So what are we going to do? The first thing that we are going to do is to configure a policy that will enable network protection on all the endpoints which are currently onboarded into this Defender. That's what we're going to do. So for that, we'll go to endpoint security. In the endpoint security, under manage, it says antivirus. So we will basically use antivirus, which is there on all the endpoints, which are centrally managed by Defender. And we will use that antivirus to create a policy. So we'll create a policy in the antivirus to enable this behavior. Okay. So we'll select antivirus and then we will select create policy, antivirus policy. Now the policy that we are creating, this will enable network protection. But other than network protection, it will also configure a lot of controls. That also includes exclusion part that one of the participants was asking the other day. So let's understand. So we'll click on create policy. Then we click on select platform. Here you need to select the platform. So if you are using configuration manager, which is system center configuration manager to manage your Defender for endpoint, to manage the device onboarding, then you will select the fourth option. If you're directly onboarding endpoints into Defender, you will select the platform as Windows 10, 11, and server. And server includes everything. And if you are creating a policy for Mac and Linux, you will select Mac and Linux. So we are going to select 10, 11, and Windows server. Then we will need to select a profile. These are the profiles which are available. So we will select Microsoft Defender antivirus here because we are going to create the antivirus related policy. So we'll click on Microsoft Defender antivirus. Now you can see what it is. It says Windows Defender antivirus is the next gen protection component of Microsoft Defender for endpoint. Next gen protection brings together machine learning, big data analysis, in-depth threat resistance, research, and cloud infrastructure to protect devices in your enterprise organization. That's what it does. So we'll hit create, and then you will see a lot of configurations that will come to you under configuration tab. There you will decide what you want to control, what you want to give freedom on. So we'll go to the basic tab and type the name of this policy. So I will say this is my production policy. I will show you how a production policy is created and what we typically keep in a production policy. I can put a description that this is the production policy that gets applied to all the production endpoints hosting Windows client and server OS. This is just a description. You can put anything. Then we'll hit next. After that, you will start doing the configuration. So it says need to configure at least one setting to proceed. So obviously these are many configurations that you will do. Okay. The first thing, allow archive scanning. For each configuration, it shows you the knowledge also that what is this configuration setting. So allow archive scanning basically means that when the antivirus runs a scan, it identifies threat or virus definitions in some file, and by default, it will archive those files. So do you want those archive files to be scanned also when you run a scan? So we will say not configured, not allowed, or allowed. So it says if you say allowed, then it will scan the archive files also by default. When you run a scan, it will scan the archive files. Allow behavior monitoring. Now, what is this behavior monitoring? Behavior monitoring is that it will monitor the behavior of the endpoint. So this is always turned on so that it can do the real-time behavior monitoring. Then comes allowed cloud protection. Now, you should only enable cloud protection when you have a cloud PC. Cloud PC basically means a Windows 365 PC. Microsoft also has a product with the name Windows 365, wherein it provides you desktops or personal computers, and Microsoft, they are configured in Microsoft Azure, and they have any configuration that you need. So allowed cloud protection. So you should only configure this when you have cloud PC. So I will probably say not configured. Then allow email scanning. Very important. You want your antivirus to scan emails as and when you receive it. So when you go to Outlook and open any email, before you open that email, or if that email contains any attachment, it will first scan that attachment, and if that attachment is clear, if it doesn't contain any virus, any malicious code, then only you will be able to see it. Otherwise, it will quickly archive it. So yes, we will configure it, which is allowed turn on email scanning. Allowed full scan on mapped network drive. Now you will have a couple of file shares, couple of SAN-DES and NAS storage connected to your endpoints while you are running the scan. Do you want them to be included? So I will say yes. If I have any network drive, please include that into the scan. Then allow full scan on removable device threading. Now this is very important configuration. Whenever you insert a removable drive, any flash drive, any storage device, any pen, USB drive, it should be scanned. So you will say, yes, please allow scan removable drives. So it will scan the removable drives all the time. Then it says deprecated. This capability is deprecated because Defender for Endpoint doesn't provide IPS service anymore. That IPS service is now part of Azure Firewall product. So we'll just leave it as it is. Allow scanning of all downloaded files and attachments. This is important. So whenever you download any file or any attachment from the internet, it will be scanned. So you will say allowed by default. Allow real-time monitoring. Yes, you will enable real-time monitoring. So you don't want your antivirus to sleep all the time and then only monitor your endpoints for a specific time frame. No, you want real-time monitoring. Allow scanning network files. Yes, allowed. Allowed script scanning. If you're putting any script, yes, it will be scanned. Allow user UI access. Yes, you will be allowed. Let's user access UI. Why are you allowing it? So that your users can actually access the antivirus, but it's your discretion. In some production environment, admins do not want users to see antivirus UI, and in some production environment they allow it. So depending on whatever is your discretion, you can allow it. When you say not configured, it means it is not configured. I'm saying this capability is not configured, and it will not be shown. And then you say not allowed or allowed. Okay. Then comes average CPU load factor. So average CPU load factor basically means that when the antivirus scan is running, then how much CPU load you want to give it to. So you can select CPU load 50% will be more, just put it 20%. That should not take more than 20% of the processing capability when it is running. Archive max depth. You can configure it and you can provide the depth also here, that what will be the depth of it. So typically we keep it not configured. Archive max size and max depth we don't configure, which basically means that there is no limit on the archive. Whenever it finds a file that needs to be archived, it will archive it. Check for signature before running scan. Now it says that sometimes you have new applications that you download from internet. Now, if you have configured hashes for those applications, it will check for signature before scanning them. And if it checks the signature and if it finds in its signature the hash that you have already blocked, then it will not even run the scan. The file will be blocked. So you can say enable. Then it says cloud block level, not configured. Cloud extended timeout, not configured. Day to retain clean malware, not configured. Then disable catch-up full scan, not configured. Enable low CPU priority. You can enable low CPU priority. This is the setting that I'm talking about. Enable network protection. So you basically need to enable this setting, blocked mode, so that your devices will have smart screen filter, which is needed by indicators to allow or block them. So you will enable network protection and you will enable it. And when you enable it, it is always enabled in block mode or audit mode. So if you block it, if you put it into the audit mode, then what will happen? It will just create an alert or investigation against that activity, but it will not block it. So we will always enable it in block mode. This is what we need to do. This is where we can excluded extensions. We can put extensions here which says allow an administrator to specify a list of file type extensions to ignore during a scan. Each file type in the list must be separated by an example like this. It will be separated by a pipeline. For example, lib, obj. So here you can put excluded extensions here. So you can add here and you can put the excluded extensions. Let's say when it runs the scan, I don't want it to scan a specific file type which is .pdf. So you can put it like that. So this is excluded extensions. Then excluded path. I don't want Defender for Endpoint to to basically so when I'm running a full scan, it should not go to that specific path and run the scan. So for example, let's say I don't want Defender to run the scan for this. I will just copy the path and put it here. So what Defender for Endpoint will do, it will not run the scan for this path. So you can put all the paths. Now, what paths we typically put here? We first of all put the path where the Defender itself is installed, where the antivirus is installed, because we don't want antivirus to scan itself. So we put that path. So this is the common example. Other than this, any application which is getting troubled or impacted by the antivirus on your systems, the antivirus always thinks that application or module of that application as a malware or as a virus. Then you can put the file path of that application, the complete file path where the application is installed. For example, this file path. I don't want my Defender to scan this, which is C program files McAfee. So it will not scan this folder at all. It will exclude that folder from scanning. When it runs the scan, it will exclude the folder. So this is exclusion in terms of file extensions, and this is file path exclusions. Then you can also exclude processes. Any process that that you don't want a Defender to do, you can put that process here. Let's say you don't want it to scan the process which is user init.exe. So you can put the process here. Then comes PUA protection, which is specific level of detection for potentially unwanted application. Windows Defender alerts you when potentially unwanted software is being downloaded or attempted to install itself on your computer. So you can enable this protection also, which is, it says PUA protection on, detected items are blocked, they will show in history with other threats, or the other is audit mode, wherein you will just get the notification, it will detect potentially unwanted application, but it will not take any action. So I would rather say, please block it. Then real-time scan direction. What will be the direction of the real-time scan, which says control which set of files should be monitored. Note if allow on access protection is not allowed, then the configuration can be used to monitor specific files. So I will enable the real-time protection. It says bidirectional, all files, incoming files, outgoing files. So when it is running the real-time scan, then what it is configuring. So I will say monitor all files, whether it is coming in or going out. Scan parameters, you can configure quick scan. Then you can, now over here, you can configure the parameter. Let's say you want to configure full scan. Now, when do you want to configure the full scan on the system? So I will say, please, so I'm configuring the full scan time. Now it comes in this format, which is 120. So you will need to find out what 120 is equivalent to. So here you can see the logic. The logic is that 0 stands for 12 AM. A value of 60 stands for 1 AM. A value of 120 stands for 2 AM. And up to a value of 3080, which stands for 11 PM. So it is in the multiples of 60. So let's say you want to run the scan around 7 o'clock, right? So you will calculate it accordingly, which is 1380 minus 60, which is 1320 for 1030. For 10 o'clock, it is 1260, then 1200 for 930. And for 9 o'clock, it is 1140, then 1280. So around, we can put it like 1280, which is around 9 o'clock, it will run the scan. And the time zone you will configure. So then scan day. So when do you want to run the scan? And this is as per the NTP. Whatever time zone system is taking, in that time zone, it is 24 hours clock. At 9 o'clock, it will run the scan. Then schedule scan days. When do you want to run the scan? Full scan. You can probably say that full scan you run on Saturday and Sunday, right? So you can select every day not configured, or you can select the days that, whichever day you want to configure the scheduled scan, full scan. And then, so I would rather say that run a full scan every day and schedule scan time. When do you want to run the scan? So I can run the scan also. So this is your quick scan. First, I selected scan parameter, which is full scan. So I've scheduled that quick scan time is 1280. So quick scan should run at 9 o'clock, or I would say that the quick scan should run around 1140 the quick scan, and the schedule, and it should run every day. And then schedule scan time. This is another scan that you want to run, which is, I can say, 1380. Then it says signature update fallback order, signature update file share sources, signature update related to signature updates. You see a lot of information here. Threat severity detection action. So whenever it identifies a threat, so when it is running a real-time scan or a scheduled scan, if it identifies any severe threats, so what should be the remediation action? What action it should know? It should take. It should quarantine, remove, allow, user-defined, block. So I would rather say that you can block, right? Or for severe, you should always block, but for moderate, you should always quarantine. And for low severity, you can probably, you can probably clean, because it's a low priority threat. So you can try to fix it. That's what I'm saying it. And for remediation action for high severity threat, also, I will always say block. I should not say user defined, because user may not have knowledge around the criticality or around the replication of it. So I will say for high, block. Allow network protection down level. You can configure network protection down level. So there are multiple configurations that you see here. Disable DNS over TCP parsing, disable HTTP parsing. This is related to application. This one is deprecated, leave it. Engine updates channel, metered connection updates, platform updates, randomized schedule time. So there are multiple options here. And if you don't understand the meaning of a specific option, you can always click here. It tells you exactly what it means. So after you have configured everything, and right now from the indicator perspective, this was for the entire virus, which includes network protection also that we have configured here, block mode. So we need to make sure. So I'm just removing these extensions for a moment, but I've just explained what we need to do, because this will create a stale entry, because this information is from my system, not from the endpoints actually. So I would remove these entries.
Raghuvi, I have one question. Is it okay
Give me a
now to
moment.
ask?
So this we need to enable. I'm just removing the stale entries which I've added from my system, because which will not make sense, because those processes will not be there on the system. Okay.
Okay.
Rest of the information is okay. Yeah, you can ask questions now.
So I wanted to ask one question about the scan, basically. So the scan parameter we have selected as full scan, right? And
Yeah.
that quick scan is by default, means it doesn't give you the privilege to select the quick scan, right? Quick
This
scan
quick
is
scan
going
is
to be
here.
there always.
Schedule quick scan is here. You can schedule the
Schedule
quick
quick.
scan also.
No. So just the above parameter, scan parameter, in that you have selected full scan, right?
No, so what I need to select is quick scan actually. What I'm telling you, that you can also select full scan, and then you will provide the schedule time here. This one is for full scan timing.
So basically the below two parameters, schedule scan day and schedule scan time, are the parameters for this the one which we have selected is scan parameter.
Absolutely.
And the scheduled quick scan time is by default, like
By default,
you have to
absolutely.
select it anyway.
Yep.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So once you're done with all these settings, so this is your entire virus. So from this policy, you basically control the entire virus, which is running on all the endpoints, because entire virus is performing real-time scan. Every time there's a deviation on the endpoint, whether a flash drive is inserted, whether some file is downloaded from the internet, for each deviation, the entire virus is responsible for protection. The entire virus is protecting the endpoint. There are other configurations, but entire virus is very critical. So this is where you configure all the entire virus settings. These are all the settings which are possible in Defender for Endpoint. After you have selected these settings, then you will select the scope tag. Now, if you are putting tags, then you can select this. But since we are not putting the tags, I will select the assignment. Instead of scope tag, I'll go to the next, which is assignment. And over here, I will select the group in which I want to assign this. So this is where I need to select the group where I want to assign it. So here I will search by the group name. So I'll select my group, which is production.
No, the production was the policy name and
Yeah,
MDVM
what was my
was
group
the
name? I believe MD.
MDVM.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. MDVM. So I select my group. Now to this group, the assignment will be applicable. So I've selected the group and it says, and it shows that how many devices are there. These are the devices. Now you can also exclude some groups from these policies. So for example, for this group, it should be included, but I also have another group, for example, which is my SOC group. So I can select that SOC group and I say, please exclude this group. So all the devices which are part of this group will be excluded from this policy, and all the devices which are part of MDE group will be included in this policy. And I have 4 devices in each group. So that's the concept of excluding a specific endpoint or a set of endpoints from antivirus policy, or creating multiple antivirus policies based on group type. And group configuration depends on your parameters, which is department wise, environment wise, BU wise, location wise, whatever logic basis on which you have created your groups. So this is the concept. So for this one, I am actually not including the SOC group, but MDE VM group. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll click on next, and that's it. Save this policy. Now, once you save this policy will get propagated to all the endpoints. How much time it take? Microsoft officially says that it will take up to 2 hours. So Microsoft says that you need to wait for up to 2 hours for the policy to get propagated. It also depends on number of endpoints which are there. It also depends on whether the endpoint has network connectivity. If there is any endpoint which is not available, which is probably shut down or which is out of network, obviously this policy will not reach to that endpoint. And that is where you have the summary. In the summary, it basically shows you the unhealthy endpoints, the one where the policy did not reach. You will see all the information. So I have created this policy. Now, if I want to check who this policy went to, so I can click on production policy. And here I will see that this is the report, which means how many devices it reached successfully, on how many devices there was an error, for how many devices there was a conflict. Conflict means there was another policy, a similar antivirus policy in which the same device is applicable. So now you have 2 policy parameters on one device. So is there a conflict parameter that you will see here? Not applicable basically means you will see the device. Let's say in your group, you have some Linux and Mac devices, but your policy is for Windows. So it will come as not applicable. And in progress, it will basically show you that how many devices it is currently in progress. So this in progress, this information slowly and gradually will update. Because when I created this policy in the evening, it took around 2 hours to have the policy propagated, and then slowly and gradually the devices report will start to come. So slowly and gradually this number will start to increase, and it will be 4. Because I have 4 devices in total. And if there is any device which is not running, which is shut down, then it will show as error. There is no point of conflict. Not applicable will not be there because all my devices are Windows client and server, and in progress it will not show ever, because that's what I have experienced. So this is how the entire virus policy works in Defender for Endpoint. I'm open to questions if you have any.
Yes, Raghu. So I have one question. So, by any chance, Microsoft provides any kind of best practices?
Speak a bit louder.
by any chance Microsoft provides any kind of best practices to follow while doing the policy configuration? Hello, am I audible?
Yep, I'll show you.
Yeah.
No, I got your point.
Okay.
You want to understand the best practices.
Right, right. If any kind of document or if anything is there from Microsoft, then it would really help.
Okay, I'll share the document. Give me a moment. So these are the 4 types of policies that we have in Defender for Endpoint. The one that we have configured is antivirus. We'll configure the additional policies also. So antivirus policies help security admins focus on managing the discrete group of antivirus settings for managed devices. So if you want to know the considerations here, best practices here, that out of 100 options which are there, what should I select? So here's the documentation for it. I'm just looking for documentation. Okay, so what the document basically says, so earlier there used to be a table that provides you guidance on the antivirus policy, but now what is happening as per the documentation, what it basically says that when you put a policy, for example, if we click on the existing policy, if we go to the configuration settings, what it basically says that if you need the guidance here, and if you're not sure, then go with the default policy. Always go with the default. That's what it says. Wherever against a policy it says default, just go for the default policy because that's how it is configured. So that's what the documentation say, but they've removed it. So it's your own discretion that what you want to do. So wherever you are not sure, just go with the default because by default, a couple of things are not configured. So just go with the default. And wherever you need guidance, you can always click on the guidance. For example, it says allow archive scanning. It says default. So go with the default configuration when you're not too sure about the impact of a policy, because this is the best practice. And wherever you need to configure it at your discretion, configure it accordingly. So for example, you can see in a couple of things I have gone by default because that's how it happens. Okay.
Okay, but yeah, so that is right. We can always go ahead and read and check whether that feature can help us or not. But the thing is, when they provide the new features, right? Now that Defender for Endpoint is always evolving and they are, upgrading it with
Absolutely.
the newer features, and also I just wanted to know whether they can provide any kind of guidance that this new feature is we can use in this scenario, or this new feature can be used in this scenario. So that
To be
would help.
honest, I don't see one on the documentation, but what you can do, you can always see the configuration settings that gives you the guidance. For example, metered, it says metered connection updates. It says allow managed devices to update through metered connection. Default is 0. One is the default is 0 not allowed, 1 is allowed, which basically means when you run the updates for Defender for Endpoint, now the update size could be, let's say, 500 MB. Now all the devices are downloading it, so that may choke the network. So what you can do, you can enable it. You know what, you can say not configured. Okay, not configured basically means default. So which means this device will stay up to date during the gradual release. Or you can click on or you can click on this and then it says learn more. So wherever it says learn more, you can click on it. That will take you to the documentation wherein it will try to explain what that feature is all about.
Okay. Okay,
Right, you can see
understood.
some controls here. So you can click on, you can look for that control. A couple of controls are already here. So if you see it here, I'm say, give me a moment. Over here. So when you click on, when you were on policy, this is where I don't like this. Okay. So when you click on policies, for example, these are all the configurations. So some configurations are shown here. I will not say that all of them are here, but some configurations are shown here. And these are all the configurations. I'm saying this is not only for antivirus. This includes all the policies that I've put here, which is attack surface reduction, endpoint detection response, firewall, and all the policies. So you see the guidance for some of them here. I will not say that you get a guidance for everything, but you see a guidance. So you can probably do a control F and you can see the guidance. So let's say I want a guidance for some. Let's say I need to get a guidance that what is this archive max depth. So I will copy it. I'll come to this page and I'll put it into the field over here and hit enter and see if there is any guidance here. So I don't see a guidance here. I will just remove these spaces because the guidance is without spaces. And see, yes, I got the guidance. So it says archive max depth. Now I will click on it and then it gives me the configuration for archive max depth. So it gives you the configuration. It shows the specify. It gives you the details, applicable OS. That's how it happens. That's it. So this is the maximum information that you can do. That so you will not have a documentation that says that this is how you should configure it in production. This is how you should configure it in non-production, and this is how you should configure it in staging. You don't have that documentation, but for each configuration, you have this documentation wherein you can see the details of the configuration.
So sometimes now we already, like, we have implemented like most of the policies in customers environment, but the thing is when you go into that documentation and read it, so sometimes it gets confusing. So
I
until
got
or
your point.
unless you do the proper testing or the UAT testing on those policies, then only you will be able to confirm. And frankly speaking, for some of the customers, like I have seen it over my years of experience, some of the customers don't have the testing environment also. So whatever we have to do, we have to do it on the production environment, even testing as well. So that is kind of a That is why I was, asking for any kind of documentation which Microsoft itself provides us, so that we can be sure that if the OEM is saying this, then we should go in this path or that path. That is
No,
all.
that is not available, to be honest.
Right.
That
Okay.
information is not available as we speak. However,
Okay.
what I can suggest you here for a production environment, even if
Mhm.
customer doesn't provide you a separate sandbox environment, then what you can do, you can create in the production environment itself, you can identify the low critical systems, probably 3 or 4
Mhm.
low critical systems across each operating system version,
Mhm.
and then add them to a test group, apply the policy on the test group so that it only affects the low critical systems, validate the
Mhm.
behavior probably for a couple of days. And once you are
Mhm.
100% sure that this is the expected behavior, no modifications are needed, then you can
Mhm.
roll that out to the rest of the environment.
Mhm.
That's the best advice that I can do here.
Yes, yes. That's what we already do. So
Yeah,
thank you
that's
for
that's how
sharing
we
the
do it
advice.
in production when we don't have a sandbox environment. And you're absolutely
Mm.
right. I'm saying majority of the customers do not have a sandbox environment because nobody would want to unnecessarily aside some budget on an
Mm.
environment which does not provide them any revenue at the end of the year.
Right, right,
So this is
right.
true. So this is what I
Mm.
do basically for some of my customers, wherein I do not have an environment. I have got a list of low critical systems. I group them into a test group, and then I apply all the policies on that group. And based on the
Mm.
response expectations and behaviors over a certain period of time, which could probably be 24 hours or 7 days, then I decide whether
Mm.
this will get replicated to the entire environment or not.
Right,
Yep.
right,
So
right.
this is the
Yes,
max
yes.
that I can share. As I said, I would say if you specifically need guidance and if you don't see much information here against the policy, for example, you don't see much information, it only says this, and you need more guidance, just copy this policy and here's the documentation where you can paste it and you will see whether this is available because it contains everything related to Defender CSP, which is the
Right,
client side protection.
right, right.
CSP here is
Understood.
client side protection.
Understood. Understood. So,
Yeah,
please put this link in chat so that we
yeah,
can.
yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And as I said, don't consider this for entire virus. This is for everything. Okay.
Yes,
Raghuveer,
yes, Raghu. Thank
Yeah.
Raghuveer, what was the significance of exclude group? Because if we are not sending to that group, it is by default excluded only, right?
Oh, no, no, no. So basically what happens, sometimes you will have a group which contains all the devices. See, you will have a production group that contains all production systems. But at the same time, some production systems are special. They are mission critical to the project. So you create a separate group for those mission critical systems, right? Now, what will happen? You will add them as exclude. So what will happen? They will be excluded. That's how it happens.
So it's actually subset of the include group, right? It should ideally.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It could be a subset of the include group. It is always the subset of the include group, which is by design. But
Hmm.
sometimes we intentionally put exclude group also, which is totally separate from include group, just so that the admin is aware that this is something which should not be included. Because what
Oh,
if there are so take it this way. Sometimes what happens, a system is part of both the group. There is a server which is part of multiple groups. Now, whenever there are exclude group is there, the priority will be given to the exclude group. So when this policy will get applied here, uh, so when I go to the, let's say, end of it here and save it and go to the endpoint policies over here. So I've got two policies here. You can see here, right? Two policies here. Now, when I click on this policy basically have two groups, right? MDE group included and excluded groups SOB. So what will happen when the policy gets applied? It will first look into the exclude group and exclude all the servers. Then it will go to the include group. So if there is any server which is part of excluded group but is also present in the included group, that server will not have this policy applied. That's the logic,
okay. Okay.
right? That's
Sure.
the reason we always put an exclude group also.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So this is about your antivirus policy. The reason we have created this policy, because we want to enable network protection on the systems so that we can put IOCs. Okay. Now, in my case, the policy will not get succeeded on any of the system because those 4 systems are shut down. They're not available. So probably in some time I'll see an error, but I will not have them succeeded. But in your case, I assume that all your systems are up and running because I asked you to start your system at 1 o'clock. So this policy will get propagated to those systems, and probably in some time, in the next couple of hours, you will start to see the number will increase here. It will say 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? I'll show you for the other systems, other policy, which is applicable on the systems that I have here. For example, if I go to my my Azure portal, and if I go to my virtual machines, I've got these virtual machines. Out of these virtual machines, the 4 virtual machines in West US, these 4 virtual machines, I have added all these 4 virtual machines into a group which I have put as SOC. So Windows 10, 16, 19, and 22, I've added it to a group which is here. So this is the policy, the sample protection endpoint policy. This is applied to that group. You can see SOC group, and all these 4 VMs that I'm showing here, they're part of this group. So when I also wanted to enable network protection, instead of enabling it one by one on the system, I tested it. So what I did, I created this policy, and if you look this policy only contains, if I go to the basic, you can see this policy only contains one configuration. Rest of them are non-configured. This policy only contains this network protection configuration, which was needed. Enable network protection, which is enabled. So I only put this configuration in the policy and then applied this policy to SOC group, which has 4 devices. And then later on, when I came back to this policy a couple of hours later, I could see that policy was succeeded on all the 4 devices. And as soon as I got this report, I tested these systems and I was able to see the expected behavior on the system. So this is one way of putting policies on the system through antivirus. There is another way that I will also talk about. But this is one thing that we needed to do as a prerequisite before we enable the IOC, which is to have network protection enabled on all the endpoints, enabled in block mode, and that we enabled through this policy. And at the same time, we also looked at all the options which are available in the antivirus policy. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes, yes, Raghu.
Okay, now we'll move on. We will need to give this policy to some time for synchronization. So what I will do, we'll move on to the next step, which is while this policy is getting synchronized, I will show you the integration. So if you remember, we did the integration between MCAS and Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, right? We all did that integration, if you remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's see whether that integration is working or not. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leverage the cloud up capability to enable indicators in Defender for Endpoint and to propagate those indicators to all my endpoints. That's I'm going to do. Okay. So let's do that part. So I'll go to Cloud Apps, and over here there's an option that says Cloud App Catalog. Do you all see this option?
Yes, yes.
I'll click on Cloud App Catalog, and you will be surprised that Microsoft is so, this list is so comprehensive that it has taken into account almost every application that exists on this planet. And this list is so dynamic that it keeps on adding whenever something new comes up. So for example, if I want to know, if I want to block personal email, I can just click on browse by category email. Sorry, not here. I will click on search for app and I'll say email here. And hit enter. I will say search for email and hit enter. And I will see all the emails. It says webmail, right? So I'll click on webmail here and I will see all the email services that is there. So it is loading. So you can see the private emails, all the private email services. These are webmail services, right? Similarly, I see 16 webmail services. If I see the email services, I can just uncheck it. And then you can see it like this also. Education, marketing, health, security. There is an option which says, there's an option. So you can see the option, social network. If I click on this, it will show me a total of 246 social networking sites which are there. A total of 246. Site names that you have not even heard about. Give me a moment. Raghuvar, is that you're speaking on mute?
I'm not able to hear Raghuveer as well.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to show you is method. I'm trying to show you that how you can leverage MCAS solution, the cloud app catalog feature of MCAS, to get intelligence around the certain web portals, certain websites across categories, and you can block them on your endpoints. So here you get the list of all of them. So for example, I want to block any of them. I will, whichever I need to block, I just need to select, for example, change.org. It's a social networking site and its rating is very low. If I want to see why it's rating low, I can click on it and I can see where the rating is low, right? For example, multi-factor authentication, it doesn't support, remember password. These are the private shield it doesn't have. So this is how I can get it, and I decide that okay, I don't want my people to use change.org. Then I will click on tag as unsanctioned. Now, when I say tag as unsanctioned, it says app with unsanctioned tag will be blocked by Defender for endpoint. Now, let's say for a moment that I want to monitor actually instead of blocking it. So one is I can unsanction it, which means it will be blocked on my endpoints and it will generate a finding whenever somebody browses this site. Or I first want to audit. I want to know how many endpoints or how many employees are actually browsing a specific website. Then what I'll do, if I want to know about this change.org, I'll click on these three vertical lines and I will say monitored. When I say monitored, what will happen? User will be able to browse it. User will get a warning that user can bypass, and I will also have a record of all the users and devices and frequency of this app being browsed in my environment, and accordingly I can take a decision whether decision which is an informed decision that will know the impact. What will be the impact of it? So, and then while you do it, you can also exclude some devices. That's the concept of grouping that we did. As I said, grouping is very important. So here I can select a profile, and over here you can create a profile. So profile you basically create here itself. So you can select the devices also that you want to allow or deny any user group. So that we will talk about later on. Right now, let's focus on this basic, I'm saying this configuration, wherein we can block things. So let's say I want to block e-commerce. I'm saying I want to know how much time my employees are spending browsing e-commerce website. I've got a lot of complaints from management that people are spending a lot of time on Flipkart and Amazon on Big Billion Days or Great India Festival, which is hampering their productivity. Okay, so this information comes to me. I will be quick here. So what I will do, I will first see what is the frequency. What will be the impact of this? So I will click on monitored real quick and save it. And this is, so I'm not selecting any profile. So by default, it will be monitored for all of it. Then similarly, any website that I want to do, let's say Alibaba, I will say monitored, click save. Similarly, you will have Flipkart also here. So Microsoft is okay. Minecraft, Amazon affiliate program, I will say monitored. Google Play is also under e-commerce category. Any application that has that offers you certain products, you can put tag as monitored. So this is how you can do it. Magento, e-commerce, Alibaba, Oracle. You can click on next and you will find other websites also. So this list is endless basically. This has a total of 1.3K, 1300 websites here. If you want to search for it, you can search for app also. Let's say you want for Flipkart. Hit enter. It will show you whether Flipkart is there or not. So yes, Flipkart is there under e-commerce. You can directly select, and let's say I want to block Flipkart. Tag as unsanctioned. So I'm blocking Flipkart right away because I know Flipkart is not needed in my business. So I'm blocking it right away. It is blocked. When you see a red circle here, it means Flipkart is blocked. So you can directly search for app also. Let's say you want to block Dream 11. There's a website with the name Dream 11 also. If it is there, I don't know. I'm saying if it is Dream 11 or something else, Rummy Circle. No, it's not coming like that. So you need to go under probably you will just need to uncheck it and you will need to go under gaming. So under gaming, you will get it. So this is how you can see all the online meetings, Internet of Things. These are the categories basically. I'm saying this gives you at least some ready reference wherein you don't need to bother about manually doing it. You can directly do it like that. So let's say I want to block some news and entertainment portals. I don't want my employees to unnecessarily spend time on this. So these all comes under news and entertainment. I'm saying this is not refreshed properly because I'll still see e-commerce websites. So configuration takes a lot of time, guys. It's sometimes you have a list from your business or from your governance team that these are the things you need to block. Sometimes you need to manually look for things. So I'll remove e-commerce and I'll go to news and entertainment only. So now I'll see all news and entertainment websites. All of this Google News, anything, all of these news sites that I have. So I can block them also. And the Microsoft keeps on adding more and more here. So you see all the websites. So I don't want to use Sky Networks. I don't want my employees to do it. I will be blocked by default. And anything that you will put as monitored, it will be under audit mode, and users, and you will get a list of, you will get something to decide on in future. So that's what you do. So this is the feature. This is the collaboration between integration between cloud apps and Defender for Endpoint. So any activity that I've done so far, for example, this IMDb, I'm also putting off. This is where most of the productivity hampers. In fact, Prime Video and other websites, USA Today, a lot of people watch it. In fact, there is one which is Al Jazeera also, so that you will find when you click on next, next, next. So here I can go and now whatever you configure here, since you have enabled the integration between Defender for Cloud Apps and Defender for Endpoint, when you navigate to your endpoint, now when you go to systems and settings, when you navigate to endpoint, what will happen? You will automatically see that reflecting in your endpoints. So if I go to the endpoint settings and if I click on indicators, what will happen? This will automatically fall here under URLs and domains. Whatever you have done in the Cloud App Catalog under Microsoft Cloud App Security, because of integration, it will automatically come here. So you will quickly be able to see that here. So this all is coming from there. Otherwise, I did not have intelligence to identify all the possible combinations through which Dropbox can be accessed. So this intelligence I'm getting, for example, these are the combinations for Facebook also. So because of this, I got the intelligence that it is not gmail.com also always. User can also type googlemail.com. They can also type mail.google.com. They can also type mailattachment.googleUserCode.com. So I got this entire intelligence coming from Microsoft Cloud App integration, Cloud App integration, this came. Now, whatever I did just now, it is not coming because as I said, when it comes and you can have a maximum of 15,000 indicators added, which is a huge number. So whatever you have just added, slowly and gradually it will come. For example, if you noticed, it was 68, now it is 69. So anything that I've just done, that has basically come. For example, that LinkedIn part, which I did, so LinkedIn came here. So it will come slowly and gradually, and it will start to appear here, whatever you blocked in Microsoft Cloud App Catalog, and it will come here. Now, once it comes here, then you can also change the configuration. So it is not that you cannot change the configuration. For example, this URL, which is gmail.com. I want to change the configuration. So I can select this indicator and I can edit this indicator. Okay, yep, here I can edit. So I can edit this indicator by clicking on it. And let's say right now it says that it will be applicable to all devices. By default, that's the scope. I can go ahead and change this behavior and I can say that this should, this should not generate an alert. It should only block the execution, right? And it should be applicable to specific devices. And here I can select my device group also. So right now that group is not getting synchronized because it will take time. So you will see your device group also. For example, I've created a test group so that I can select that group and it will be only applicable to that test group and I can save this configuration here. So I would rather suggest that instead of changing this configuration here, you should always change the configuration in the Cloud App Catalog itself for that application. That should be the right approach instead of changing it here. But you can also change it here. So this is the integration between Cloud App and Defender for Endpoint, wherein with this integration, you can have quickly identify multiple combinations of URL for a specific application or web portal and have it blocked or monitored on your endpoints. I'll take a pause here and see if you have any questions on this.
Raghu, actually in the cloud app catalog, it will show all the apps which are available in the particular environment or all available in worldwide. How it work?
Particular environment, I didn't get that point.
Means if it is we are using some domain, if for example for my client domain, it will show all the applications some users are using in that particular domain, or it will which are all available in the globe.
No, it's global list. It has nothing to do what your client is using. It's a global list.
Okay. Is there
Just
any
like
way
you have
to
proxy applications using which you can block certain websites, URLs, domains. It is the same concept here. It's a global list. It has nothing to do whether your client is using it. It has nothing to do with the geography of your client. That, for example, your client is in Europe, so it will only show you the applications of Europe. No, it will show you global. It's a global catalog that they have. Global catalog of applications. That is the reason some of the applications you don't even recognize by looking at the name, because we don't use that in India. For example, Staff Hub. I did not hear this name in the past.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a global catalog.
Okay. How can we find out if it is this case? We need to find out some of the application. We need to block it. It is already installed in the environment in our domain like that. How can we? Is it possible to manage from cloud apps? We can.
No, that is so you will not be able to manage it from here. For that, you will basically need to. I'm saying that up to certain extent it is possible, but the right approach of doing it is here, which is you block it by hashes.
Okay.
So any application that is installed in your environment, every application has a certificate and hash. That is the common, common properties of an application. So you will go to you will go to the indicator here, and then you will need to identify the hash of that application, right? So identify the hash, and then you can block it. So that's the next thing that I will come to. But first, I want to know, is everyone clear on the URL and domain part?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's move on to the next indicator, which is IP address. So how does this IP address work? There are multiple ways. Since we are using Microsoft Defender for XDR at this moment, which means my Sentinel, Defender for Cloud, and other products are integrated. So whenever I get an incident, I can always have I can always have IP addresses, URLs, applications as entities in that incident. And if I want to block them, I can directly create an indicator from there. That's one way of doing it. For example, if I go to the investigation and response, incidents and alert, and if I go to alerts here, so these are all the alerts that I get. Let's say I want to do a filter and I want to see the alert based on product. No, not here. So why it is not coming? So this is not moving. Typically, you can see a product status categories. So over here, you can see this product name. So you can filter with this product name also. Now, let's say you want to see a specific alert for Defender for Endpoint. This alert, let's say this custom threat indicator. Okay. Now there was an alert wherein some user tried to browse this website. Right, this website, this component, some user tried to access this component. So if you want to manage it, I'm saying if you want to tune this alert, you can link alert to another incident. So here you get an option for some of the where there are IPs, you can directly select those IPs and you can block them in the Defender also. For example, let me see. Customer cert enterprise block malware was detected, terminated by system. This is where I have put the malware. I've actually put Google Chrome as a malware app. So that's why it is not allowing Google Chrome anywhere. But let me show you this one. Okay, this one. So first of all, it doesn't block the private IPs. You need to see the public IPs here. For example, this is the IP which is configured, which is involved into the. So you can see, I'm saying this is more of a open IP address page. Okay, over here. So let's say this IP, I'm saying you should not do it for internal IPs first of all, but imagine that this IP, this is a blacklisted IP address, or from this IP address, there has been a lot of hacking attempts, a lot of brute force attack, which is coming from this IP, this specific IP. Now, this gives me an intelligence. So what I will do, I don't want this to happen in future. So what I will do, I will click on add indicator directly from here. So this is another way of doing it. I'll directly add an indicator for this IP address. I'll put a title and I'll say this is a regular IP blacklisted, whatever you want to put, and then you can click on next. Description is mandatory, so you can put some description. Click on next and you can say, okay, now I want to audit this IP. I exactly want to know which all systems or endpoints this IP is communicating with. I can do an audit. I want to warn my user that please be careful, this IP has been involved into some incidents, or I can directly block the execution of this IP. So I can click on block, and then I'll say whenever this IP tries to communicate, block it, and then generate a high severity alert, and then you can select the attack get metric for it, which is say credential access, whatever. You put the recommended action, click on next, then you can select a specific device group where you want to apply it. But for blacklisted IPs, I believe it should be all devices in my organization, and then you can submit this. So I will not submit it because this is one of my system's IP, but this is the process that you can follow, which is also another method of during forensics and investigations. If you identify something which is not good for your environment, some URLs, some IP addresses, you can directly with this integration, you can directly have them added into indicators. You don't need to manually navigate to indicator into it. That's the benefit. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll cancel this operation.
Yeah. Hello, Raghuveer. I have one question from the Cloud Apps topic. I was trying to ask it, but my mic was not working. I don't know why. So
yeah, please ask it now. It is working.
So basically, so in Cloud Apps, there is a risk score, right? So can we select the multiple application and unsanction it directly on the basis of risk score?
Yeah, that's what we are doing now. So we are selecting multiple applications in one go. I can select multiple applications here. You can see I'm saying on this list. Let's say I want to select all the 4 applications. So I can just click here, keep putting save, because it will ask me, and then select multiple in the same way.
No, that you are like clicking on
you want to say based on the risk
separately,
score. Based on the risk score. No, that is not suggested, because understand, for each category, there are thousands of applications, right? And you will see that first few applications, probably first 10, 15, 20 would have a good risk score, and then the risk score will continue to go down. When you move further with that category, the risk score will continue to down. If you select blockage based on risk score, you can see there are a total of 33,015 applications are there across all the categories, right? Now imagine that you're doing it based on the risk score, and you say that all the applications which has a risk score of 5 and below, let's unsanction them, let's block them. Then this will be a lot of configuration, and this will also, because you also have a limit here. That's what you need to understand. So let me duplicate this tag. There's a limit of 15,000 indicators. So what will happen? Your 15,000 indicator limits will be exhausted then and there. So I do not recommend my customers to do it. I would always recommend to depend on their SOC team so that whenever they identify a certain behavior, they can take an informed decision whether they want to block it or not.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
putting a blanket block on all the applications for a specific for a risk score below a certain threshold will not be a good idea that I would suggest.
Right. Understood. So the
Right. And
next
the other thing
question.
you need to understand one thing also. Who has done this risk score? Microsoft. So Microsoft has put the risk score here. What if Microsoft thinks that an application risk score is 4, which is bad, but for you it's a legitimate application? Then what will you do?
Right. If for the
That is another
environment it
logic.
is genuine, then it should be allowed, right? Understood.
Yeah. So I'd say this is how this logic goes in most of the organizations that I work with or that I have access to, that they on day one or 0 day, they will only block certain websites and applications which they are 100% sure are not predictable or will hamper the productivity or will hamper the security and integrity of the environment, which is like personal email accounts, social networking websites, employment sites, porn sites, gaming websites, entertainment sites, YouTube and whatnot. So they already have that list. So what they do, they will only block that right on day one. Then basis on the alerts and investigations that keeps on coming and basis on the forensic of the source SOC team, they will continue to add custom indicators. The way I was just doing it, wherein I identified an IP address which was involved in more than 30 incidents. And that was related to a domain that is blacklisted in my account. Then I quickly went ahead and created a custom indicator to block that IP address. This should be the right approach. This is known as linear and logical approach to security.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the follow-up question would be, this risk score is on the basis of the threat intel, like virus, third-party threat intels, or the
It's
threat intel which
Microsoft has its own threat intel feed,
threat intel. Okay.
which gets information from various attack frameworks, from various various bodies over the internet. This risk score is based on that.
Okay. This is based on that. So
Yeah.
the another question is basically, there is a limit, right, on the indicators. 15,000 is the limit. So
Yeah.
if you are blocking the application from cloud apps, but still it is the IOCs of related to that application which you are blocking on cloud apps going into that indicators, right? So that uh, means that is taking up the space out of this 15,000. So
Absolutely.
that is currently defying or countering itself, countering the Microsoft Cloud Apps individual use. Are you getting my point?
So that's what you need to understand. See, that's what I'm trying to say. Microsoft has identified categories, has put applications into the categories, and Microsoft keeps on revising, keeps on updating that categories and list of applications. But depending on the industry vertical that you belong to, depending on the country and region that you do business in, you will have certain websites, applications, URLs, IP addresses that you don't want to use, but some other business wants to use, right? So that is why they will continue to evolve on that part. But here, when it comes to the indicators, they cannot allow you to put more indicators. And so so I'm not saying that this is, hard. This is a hard stop. What I'm trying to say that right now, this is the limit. They will probably keep on increasing this limit when there are more cyber threats that comes or when they feel that customers need more. Right now, this is a limit. And in a typical environment, I have not seen more than 100 or 200 indicators. That's it. You don't put many because the more
No,
you
basically,
configure, it will take more time to propagate.
We have had a lot disturbance because of this 15,000 indicators, because at the time of inception for some of the customers, they already had multiple, like suppose 10, 11,000 IOCs in their previous EDR
System.
solution. So from that we were migrating onto the MDE, and that is when 10, 11,000 spaces already took. by the
Okay.
previous IOC. So we had left with only 4,000 indicators. So which is why that is kind of a question. And with respect to
No, but
if you
then
compare,
in that case, Kunal, you can raise a support request with Microsoft, and Microsoft, can create an exception and add more indicators limit to your account.
okay, Microsoft does that.
15,000 is the default limit, but it's not it's a soft limit. It's not a hard limit. You can always get it increased. However, Microsoft will need justification for it. And the justification would be to show them the current list and say that we are already exhausting it. Please add more. So Microsoft on a case to case basis will increase that limit also. I have a customer who has got this limit increased actually. And that was the only condition for the customer to migrate from CrowdStrike to Microsoft Defender for endpoint. Because in CrowdStrike, there was not a limit. They don't have any limit in CrowdStrike Falcon, and Microsoft Endpoint has a limit. So Microsoft did an exception for the customer, wherein Microsoft increased that limit to 20,000. And then Microsoft also said that once you are exhausting this limit, just let us know. We will increase it on your customer ID.
Okay. So just the last question. So is it a paid service? Like it is enhancement in the product,
Product
or
enhancement. There is no additional cost for it.
okay, there is no additional cost. Thank you. Thank you so much. Just wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Great. So now you can see, guys, when we started, there was 67, 68. Now we have 81, which basically means that my integration is absolutely working fine. I have those, unsanctioned apps or monitored apps are getting added as, added as URL domains indicator here. And if I want to see it, I'll just click on applications. Now you can see Alibaba is coming because I enabled Alibaba. You can see Amazon Fresh is coming, but I have put Amazon Fresh as warning. Warning basically means user will get a warning and then user will be able to bypass the duration. And this bypass I have configured in Cloud App itself. So when I did the Cloud App configuration, Cloud App Cloud App integration, what I did in the integration just to test this capability. So not here. I'll show you here. So this was here. So I click on settings, cloud apps. In cloud apps, when you navigate to Microsoft Defender for endpoint, this is where you do the integration. Over here, I put the notification URL. I'm saying I was just testing whether this functionality works. So I put the URL of my website and then I put 1 hour as duration. And when I tested it on the endpoint, it was absolutely working fine. The user, after getting the warning, the user was getting redirected on this URL, and then the bypass duration was for 1 hour. So after 1 hour, the user was not able to. After 1 hour, it would reset, and the user will need to manually bypass it once again. So that's exactly what you see here for for these indicators. That even if I'm putting it on action on warn mode, if I'm putting it on warn mode, then user get 1 hour to bypass, and user will get basically to this URL as a custom URL for notification. So on this URL, I can put the notification for the user. Okay, so you can see that integration is working, and I'm able to see those apps here. So this is how it works. This saves a lot of time, lot of time that I can spend in identifying. For example, USA Today, I blocked completely. So it is blocked. Since it is blocked, it will generate an alert, and there was no point of bypass here. Now, what will happen? This behavior you will be able to test probably in the evening today or tomorrow when your endpoints are up and running, or probably. But before you test this behavior, what you need to ensure that when you come here, when you go to the Intune, where you put the policy, come to that policy, the antivirus policy, that specific policy, go to that policy and check this behavior. So for example, it is succeeded on one device. right? Out of those 4 devices, so probably this device is turned on. That's the reason it succeeded on this device. Now on this device, all the policies that I put, all the indicators, they will be applicable. So this is very important. You can also test it, but let's wait for some time. So guys, that's the question to you. Tell me, is this started working? I'm saying in your antivirus policy, do you see it getting implemented on your virtual machines and your devices are reporting for this policy?
Yes, one system has shows it is deployed.
Right. Okay, as I said, it takes 2 hours. Microsoft has clearly, transparently put it on their portal that it takes up to 2 hours. So when they say up to 2 hours, I consider it is 2 hours. So we have done it around an hour ago. Let's wait for another 1 hour. Then you can go and log into your system and test it. So
Okay.
this is about the integration part. So MCAS Cloud App Catalog integration with MDE indicators. Okay, so this is what we did. Now let's move on. So after we are done with this, after we are done with putting in the policies, let's move on to the next, which is the other indicators, which is IP addresses. If you want to block IP addresses, see, I did not complete that part because that was an internal IP, but I can also do the IP address. How do I do it? I will click on add items, put an IP address. I'm just putting an imaginary IP address. This is not possible. You cannot have 678. This is an IP address. I can put a title, which is, let's say, Russian blacklisted IP. This IP was to be blocked. Next, now it shows statistics. This is another feature. Whatever IP you will put here, if that IP was ever involved in any alerts, in any incidents, if that part of your investigations, you will click on show statistics and you will quickly see the information about that IP. But since this IP, I just put an imaginary IP, obviously I will not see anything. Right? So it says filter by 30 days, it says count is 0. But if I put an IP, any other IP, let's say an IP that belongs to my system, which is 192.168.11.9, let's say. I'm putting this IP. I'll click on the statistics. I'll get some statistics for this IP. Okay, this is incorrect IP. Let me just get actual IP. So I'll go to virtual machines. These are my virtual machines and these are the IPs. So there is no 9. So I believe I tested it here, 11.36. So I'll copy this IP, come here and put this IP. So I'll put this IP and I'll click on show statistics. Now it will quickly show me if this IP has been involved in the past for any incidents related to it. So you can see that there has been 2 count of this IP. The first seen was 4 days ago and the last seen 10 minutes ago. So I can click on it here and it gives me additional information about this IP, that 2 devices in the organization which has this IP, but there was no active alert or incident related to this IP. So I don't see anything here because I have not done anything from this IP. Observed with this organization. So this gives you some basic idea about it. I said this IP belongs to 2 systems basically, right? So this is the information that you can go for. So I can go back to my endpoints, my indicators. So this is how also how you can take a decision, informed decision. So I'll just show you that how do we add IPs now. So I'll click on add item. I'll just put an IP, which is 203, let's say 22.33.44.55. I'm just imagining this in IP. And I can say blacklisted IP. Put it here. I'll go to next and I'll say please block execution of this IP. Alert severity, I will keep it medium. Select all categories. I can say this is my defense division. Put the recommendation. And I can select a specific machine group also, right? Over here, I can select a machine group or all devices. Next, and then I'll click on submit. So this is how I can create IP-based indicators. It's pretty simple. You can create based on your prior knowledge. You can create based on incidents also that will get generated in future. For each incident, you will get an option if it is related to an IP, an option to add that as an indicator. Is everyone with me on IP part?
Yes.
Okay. Next is, give me a moment. Okay, so let's move on. We're done with the IP part. Let's talk about the other indicators, which is file hashes and certificate. So let me give you the example of both file hashes and certificates. So how do we get certificate based blocking and how do we get file hashes based blocking for the same indicator? So let's say I want to block any desk in my organization. Are you with me on this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Let's say I want to block TeamViewer. I don't want my employees to use TeamViewer because TeamViewer has been involved in many, cyber incidents. So what I will do, and if I want to block TeamViewer, this is how I will block it. So there are three things that I want to block. First, I don't want my users to browse TeamViewer website because TeamViewer may direct on their website give an option to directly connect. For example, if you go to anydesk.in, over here, you can directly connect. There is an option on the website itself. Probably they have removed it now. Wherein you can directly put the this my anydesk. You can directly put the code over here, and you can start remote connect service. So I want to block this behavior, right? So let's say I want to block anydesk. So I want to block anydesk.com as a website that I will block from URL and domain. Then I want to block people from using anydesk, which includes both downloading and installing it. And if they have already installed it, then in order to start the application, any application will start when when its executable will be called. So I want to block that part. How do I block it? I'll click on download now. So first I will download it myself. Okay, so I will download it under, let's say in PC, I'll create a folder which is testing hash certificate, and I will download it here, AnyDesk. So I've downloaded AnyDesk in that folder. Now the next step is, give me a moment here. Give me a moment, guys. Okay. I'll share my screen now. Is my screen visible?
No, it's showing black.
Let me share. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes, now.
Okay. So AnyDesk got downloaded. I'm just giving you an example for one application. The process will remain the same, right? So let's say for this application, I want to block this application, right? And I want to block all the behaviors of this application. First, the behavior that I want to block is application execution blocking via hash and certificate. So I want to block this application anydesk.exe in both in three. I'm saying I have three use cases that I want to test here. The first use case that I have is no endpoint should be able to browse anydesk.com/en or whatever, anydesk.com/star. No endpoint should be able to browse this website, first of all, which is www.anydesk.com/star. That's first thing. This is possible through, now if you want to do it, there are multiple ways of doing it. You can use MCAS Cloud App Catalog. You can find it there. Or if it is not there in MCAS Cloud Catalog, then you can put a manual indicator, manual URL and domain indicator. That's one way of doing it. The second way of doing it is block hash and certificate. So first was no endpoint should be able to browse For that, you can use Microsoft Cloud App Catalog or manual domain indicator. You can configure it. My second behavior is that no endpoint should be able to install and use this application. So if the application is already installed, endpoint should not be able to use it. And if it is not there, then endpoint should not be able to install it. Both install and use this application. This is my second behavior. So for that, I will block hash and certificate of this application. Hash and certificate. So let's understand hash and certificate, how I can block. See, I cannot block any IP address because IP addresses will continue to change. I'm saying the other way of doing it is also IP address, but then the challenge with the IP address is that it will continue to change. So for example, if I want to get the IP address, I'll type ns lookup and I'll type www.anydesk.com. And I'll get the IP address. So these are the 4 IP addresses, IPv6. These are the 4 IP addresses right now, which AnyDesk website is using. So I can block these 4 IP addresses. But then the challenge is this IP address may change tomorrow. So this strategy is not 100% foolproof. The IP address sometimes changes. What if AnyDesk is using a shared infrastructure? They don't have their own data center. They're hosted in GoDaddy and they're using a shared infrastructure. So this IP address will continue to change because users don't type IP address, they type the domain name, the frequently qualified name. So using IP address based blocking will not suffice the requirement. And we don't do IP address based blocking in such a scenario. IP address based block may not work effectively. So what I'm doing, I will be using hash and certificate. So let's get the hash and certificate for it. So how do I get a hash and certificate of an application? If I want to get the hash of this application, let's get the certificate first. Every application has a digital signature today, and by virtue of it, I can get the certificate. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's get it. So what you need to do, you need to right click on it, and this step will remain common to all the applications. Go to its properties, then click on digital signatures. Select the digital signature, which is SHA-26. Now it has got 2 digital signatures. Select both of them. Do it for both of them. So first I'll go to SHA-256, details. This digital signature, I'll get it. And then on this digital signature, I'll click on view certificate. Over here, I'll see the certificate. Then I'll go to the details of this certificate. This is the details. I'll click on copy to file and I'll import this certificate. So I'll click on next, file name. I'll put AnyDesk1, browse it and put it in the same drive, which is C drive, testing hash. I'll put it here, which is AnyDesk1 and save it. So I've got the certificate. This is the certificate for AnyDesk. Since there were 2, I'll go to the other one also. This one, details, view certificate, details, copy to file. Typically you will have 1, but here you get 2, so just get both of them. Put AnyDesk 2. Why there are 2? Because there could be 2 different URLs from where the software can be downloaded. So I've got it. I've got both the certificates. So this is how we get the certificate of an application, of any application. Then comes the hash part. If I want to get the hash, I'll open command prompt on my system. And on the command prompt, I will go to the root C drive because it is there in the C drive. I'll do dir. It is under testing hash, so I'll do cd testing hash. I'll go inside the folder, and inside this folder, I will run the command which is cert util. This is the command that I need to run. Cert util space hyphen hash file hyphen. I'll put the application. I'll copy the application name from here so that there is no error. And I'll paste it here. So it is not allowed pasting, but that's okay. I can put it because I know it's a exe. anydesk.exe space sha 256. That's the command. Cert util space hyphen hash file anydesk.exe sha 256. And it will give you the hash value of it. So this is the hash value of AnyDesk. Just copy this hash value. You can perform this activity in PowerShell also because there copy paste works. So, or in the command prompt, this is the way of doing it. Just select it, click on command prompt right here, edit and copy. And over here, just open a notepad with the name hash and put the hash here. So this is the hash. Now to be on safer side, do one thing. Also get the MD5 value of it. I'm just sometimes what happens, application programmers also uses MD5 just to make your control more effective. You can also get an MD5 value of it. So put the same command once again. You need to put the same command, and in the same command, instead of SHA 256, you will type MD5. Hit enter. This gives you MD5 value also. So copy this MD5 value, edit, copy, go inside the notepad and put the value here. Where exactly the previous value gone? Probably I've got two notepads. Yeah, two notepads. So this is the value. So I've got the information that I needed. I've got the certificates. I've got the hash value of the application. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes, sir.
That's it. Now I'll navigate to my portal. I'll go to endpoints. First, I'll enable the hash part. So I'll click on file hashes, add item, and I'll put file hash, which is AnyDesk. I'll say AnyDesk. Sorry, here I need to put the hash. So I'll go to Notepad. I'll put the hash value, which is here. Then I'll put the title, which is AnyDesk remote desktop software. I can put the description. Remote desktop software has been involved in multiple cybersecurity incidents. hence blocking the same in our environment. I can also click on show statistics and it will quickly show me whether there was any system who actually was browsing this software. Then I'll click on next. So no statistics, it's coming. And then I'll say block execution. Next, select the severity, which is high. Alert category, I can select initial access. Recommendation, whatever I want to put, I can leave it black. Next, and I can put it on certain devices. For example, I have a group of devices, test group, innocent group, or I can say all devices in my organization. Next, and submit. That's it. So this is how I can block the hash of it. So this is the hash. I'll also put the MD5 value while I'm doing all of this so that I can make my strategy more effective so that there is no loophole here. Sometimes there are multiple hash values for an application. So I'm leaving nothing behind. Now it says MD5 is not recommended as a file hash indicator. Okay, so it doesn't support it MD5. However, Sentinel-1, CrowdStrike, they also support MD5 part. So since it doesn't support, I will just cancel it. I'll just go with hash. Now to make it more effective, see probably the hash may change, but certificate doesn't change more often. So I'll click on this and I'll block it based on the certificate now. So I'll go to the certificate, click on add item. Over here, choose file, go to my system where the certificate is, C drive, testing has certificate, and I'll put the certificate also. First, AnyDesk 1, which I'll say AnyDesk, remote desktop solution. I can say -1, put description, the same thing. Click on next, allow, and say block and remediate all devices. Next, submit. Done. So this is done for AnyDesk. You can see automatically captures the certificate information subject. I'll do the other one because there were 2 certificates. So I'll go to the other one also. AnyDesk 2, title, same that I copied. Never, block and remediate. Next, next, next. That's it. So in next couple of hours on my devices, on all my devices in the organization, all the devices which are, all the endpoints which are onboarded into Microsoft Defender for endpoint, no user, because it's a device-based policy, so it applies to all the users. So no user would be able to browse the AnyDesk website. I'm just assuming that I have put that constraint from here. If not, then I can manually add also. And say, let's say in Cloud App Catalog, you don't have AnyDesk, then I can add it here also. AnyDesk.exe, AnyDesk.com, put, let's say, AnyDesk, remote desktop software. Next, block execution. Select the severity, which is medium, initial access. Next, all devices, done. So it's a comprehensive protection that I have enabled. I'm saying I can go next step also wherein I can block the IP address also. This is so comprehensive that I have made sure that no user, no device in my environment will be able to access AnyDesk website. If they already have AnyDesk installed, they will not be able to download AnyDesk. Let's say they get AnyDesk through a flash drive or through some other mode, through cloud storage or some other mode, they get AnyDesk executable on their endpoint. Even though when they try to execute it through explorer.exe, it will block it and they will not be able to install it. Let's say it is pre-installed. It's already installed. The policy, the indicators got applied later on. When I onboarded my endpoint into a Defender for endpoint, it already had AnyDesk installed on it. It's already there. So when they want to access AnyDesk, they will double click on the application icon. Now that will also generate a user init process explorer.exe, which is anydesk.exe. In that case, AnyDesk will also be blocked. So what I have done, there is no way you can access AnyDesk in my environment on my endpoints. This is how you provide comprehensive configuration using indicators for a specific URL, website, application, portal in a production environment. I'll take a pause here and I'll see if you have any questions on this. Hope I was audible, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Raghuveer.
Yes.
As of
What
now,
about other people? I'm saying I
as of
don't have
now,
others asking any questions, no acknowledgement from them. Are you really finding it so difficult? Hiren, Srinath, Sai,
No, it's fine
Roshni?
for me, Raghu. No problem. Because
Okay.
this, I'm doing this one is my day-to-day activity. That's why
Okay,
I don't
all
have
right,
much
all right.
questions. Yeah.
No problem. We are good then.
Hi Raghuveer. I have posted my question in the chat box. So we usually block the hash and we used to give block and remediate, but
Yeah, so
is it
we have a remediation policy also that I'll talk about. Then you will understand what remediation here is.
okay? Okay, fine. Okay.
Give me a moment. All right, I'm back. So this is how we do it. And as I said, remediate, when I put a remediation policy, I will see. So over here, you see this option, auto remediation. This is what you need to configure. So I'll talk about it when the right time comes. Right now, the focus is more on understanding this part, this side of Defender for Endpoint, which is very important, which is, I'm saying, I would say that 99.9% of the customer, if they are using Defender for Endpoint, they would do this configuration for sure, because this is one of the most efficient configuration of Defender for Endpoint. So I'm focusing on those specific configurations. Obviously, I cannot cover the entire solution end to end because there are multiple solutions and we've got less time. So I'm primarily focusing on the most useful, most widely configured, configuration of a solution. Okay. So this was about the indicators. So we are done with indicators. I've covered all the indicators which are there, and probably if you configure it with me in I'm saying next couple of hours, you will have these indicators, taking effect on your endpoints, and you will test it yourself on your endpoints that yes, these indicators are behaving as expected. Make sense?
yes.
Okay, great. All right, guys. Before we move on to the next, we'll take a short break. Sir Kumar need to do some prep work. Sure. Okay, let's get started, guys. Okay. Is there any questions on the indicators part?
Raghuveer, I have one question.
Sure, please go ahead.
I blocked the hash and certificate of the one application. After that, I tried to access in one of the VM and the file is disappeared from that location. It blocked the execution. Where that disabled file will land in Defender if you want to
No, that
retrieve
will
that
so
file.
that will be in the quarantine folder of your system only. Why that file has gone? That file has gone because of that antivirus policy that you have put. You bought an antivirus policy that whenever, because that real-time scanning is working in conjunction with indicators. So as soon as you clicked on you tried to access a file or access a exe which is blocked by an indicator, the antivirus will move that into the quarantine folder.
Okay.
That
Where
goes
I
into the
find that
quarantine
folder?
folder. Sorry?
Where I find that quarantine folder in
Sure,
my
I'll give you the
device?
location of that folder.
Okay.
Give me a moment. Just give me 1 minute here. So I put that part into the chat window.
Thank you, Raghuveer. I will check once.
I just wanted to test it before sharing it. So that's the reason I logged into the system. All right. Any other question, guys? If there are no more questions, let's move on. So I'll give you a sufficient time. I'm saying, since this is a trial environment, the synchronization also takes time. So we don't want to be in a hurry. What we are configuring today, probably we can see the impact of that configuration or effect of that configuration next couple of hours. So we are not in a hurry. We'll move further to the Sentinel part. So we have done some configuration in Defender for Endpoint. Now we leave this configuration as it is to take effect, and then we will test it. If you find any issues, we can discuss it in tomorrow's session. But what we will do now, we'll move on to Sentinel and we'll do some configuration in Sentinel. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes.
Okay. So let's navigate to Sentinel now. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is what I intend to cover. So Microsoft Sentinel overview and solution enablement. Now I've already provided you the overview of Microsoft Sentinel when we started, and we have enabled the solution. However, at the same time as a deliverable, I'll share a document with you. I'll share an ebook, which is around Sentinel best practices, which contains everything around Sentinel, which includes the Sentinel deployment. So I'll share this document with you, which is Microsoft Sentinel deployment best practice, which I co-author also. So this document will contain everything that you need to know around Sentinel, which is Sentinel architecture, Sentinel use cases and capabilities, the different design considerations for Sentinel, the components that Sentinel primarily uses, or the building blocks of Sentinel. It has all the information that you basically need, and you also have infographics with respect to the various components which are there. For Sentinel, also you get the design best practices, deployment best practices for any component, how you should configure it. All the information is there, that what you can configure, how it works, what it can monitor. All the information is there that you need to deploy Sentinel for a production environment. So you get everything in this document. So I'll share this document that will give you a fair idea about all the capabilities, also in terms of if there are any restrictions, if there is any quota, all that you will get in this document related to Sentinel. I'll also share with respect to, if you want to understand, I'll also share this low-level design for Azure Sentinel. This low-level design contains the Sentinel architecture. So it contains the architecture, that what Sentinel is, what all services it integrates with, what are the built-in Microsoft data connectors in Sentinel, what are the non Microsoft Sentinel data connectors, how it feeds in. So third-party sources can also send logs to Sentinel. The logs come in standard format, CEF framework, right? And then your on-premises data centers can also send logs. Then how Sentinel is working on it. Sentinel has automation rules, UEBA capabilities, threat hunting capabilities. The logs are stored in Sentinel. Log retention is up to 730 days. You can also use customer managed key to encrypt the logs. You have an integration with Azure. Azure AD Explorer. Then you can also ingest logs from cloud-hosted services like AWS, Azure, GCP, other VMs. They can directly send logs to Sentinel through Sentinel agent. If you don't have Sentinel agent, then you can put a syslog server for on-premises devices like Linux servers, Windows server, web servers. They can also directly send logs through agent, And if there is any server that is legacy, then you can create a syslog collector and all the logs will be sent to the syslog collector. From there, they can be securely sent to Sentinel over SSL. And so this, if you go through this architecture, you will get a comprehensive knowledge from the building block perspective that what Sentinel solution is all about and how it integrates with various Microsoft and non-Microsoft products. All information is here. So I'll share this document with you that you can also use in your in your customer discussions, right? Then comes log analytics workspace design. So I've shared how log analytics workspace is designed. Then you also have when it comes to the workspace design, Microsoft has a URL, a documentation wherein you can see decision making based on the use cases. So you can type Microsoft Sentinel workspace design considerations, and here your tree. So you have a decision tree that will help you to take the design specific decisions over here. So based on this decision tree, you can take a design specific decisions that whether you should have a centralized workspace, whether you should go with a separate workspace, one for each region, if you need to maintain data residency and localization, whether you should go with separate workspace for production and non-production environment. This entire decision tree will help you arrive at a decision. And finally, you will have a decision whether you want to use a single Microsoft Sentinel workspace, whether you want to use separate workspaces. So this will help you to arrive at a decision. So I'll share this with you in the chat window. So this is more of an architectural concept. So probably at your current level, you may not need this information, but this is just for future learning. Okay, then comes design and common KQLs. So I'll share the common KQLs. I have a document. This contains Sentinel common KQLs that you can run, which is to get the heartbeat, last heartbeat of computers, heartbeat of all VMs in last 1 hour. These are the common KQLs that you run. And then you also have common KQLs in log analytics also available, but these are the common KQLs that I use most of the time. So you have that information. I'll share it with you, this document, which shows you the common KQLs. And you can also get common KQLs from here. So when you navigate to Microsoft portal, and if you want to get the common KQL, you go to log analytics workspace, you click on logs, and here you see the common KQLs. So you can see these are the common KQLs related to applications. Now you want to get the common KQLs for virtual machines. So you can click on virtual machines and it will show you KQLs related to virtual machines. But these KQL also involves performance counters. But since you have not enabled performance counters, obviously, if you run this KQL, virtual machine pre-disk space, it will return no value. Why? Because you've not enabled performance counters. So it will not return any value. So based on the data collection rule that you have created, based on the logs that you have, logs and events that you have configured in the data collection rule, they are only getting ingested into log analytics workspace. So you will only be able to run the KQL that relates to that log. For example, all events in past 1 hour. Now, if you run this KQL, definitely you will get some data here because you are actually putting, but this will not get you the data because it is looking for logical disk and 3 megabytes. No, so basically you need to remove the previous one and then double click on this one and then click on run. So it will show you the log events for the past 1 hour and you can see you will start to get the events, but you're only getting, or you will only get security events. So you can see all the events that in the past 1 hour on all the systems. If you want, you can put the computer type as and the computer name also, so you can further modify this KQL. But these are common KQLs that you get. So you can run common KQLs, but you need to make sure that you will only be able to run that KQL for which the corresponding data collection rule or event is configured. For example, count of warning events. If I want to get the count of all warning events on my servers, I can run this KQL and I can get the count. So it is not bringing the data. So some KQLs will not bring the data, but most of them events by event ID I can put. Here I need to provide the event ID basically, then I'll get the information. So it is the summarized count by event ID. So I'll run this KQL and it will get the data. So I can see these are the event IDs, and based on event IDs, this is the count. So this is basically, this is how you run these. So these are the common KQLs basically. You will see a lot of KQLs here, common KQLs, and you can quickly see, let's say shut down virtual machine. The information of shut down virtual machines. Now, while you are running a KQL, you need to make sure that you remove the previous one, because if you don't remove the previous one, obviously your new KQL will not run. So why it is not coming? Because all the virtual machines which are reporting to log analytics workspace, this workspace, they are currently running. All my virtual machines which are reporting, they are running. That's the reason it says like that. So you will need to make sure. So these are your common KQLs basically that you can run across a variety of subjects. So for example, if you want to security related KQL, they are security related KQL that you can run.
Hello,
Yep.
So regarding this
louder.
KQL, regarding this
Speak a bit louder.
Hello, am I audible? No.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I just wanted to know whether you have any simplified, whether you have any document or a book where the simplified approach to the KQL is, introduced or something like that. Because whenever we try to learn it, so the after some time it gets quite confusing. So we just wanted to know whether.
So for that, I've got one which is basically specific to that I put together, which is over here. Top 300 KQL for Microsoft Sentinel. I'm saying this is directly from the production environment. So these are top 300, which is failed logon attempts. Right? So these are directly from it. So if you want to see failed logon attempts, you have direct over here. So you can directly type the KQL security event where event ID is 4625 and you will get the failed logon attempts. So this probably I can see. I'm saying this is something that I put together in the last couple of years while working with Sentinel from my experience. So I've curated a list of top 300 KQLs.
And is this available with respect to the Defender for endpoint as well?
So you don't use KQL and Defender for endpoint. Defender for endpoint, when you do the threat hunting, you will use the same thing.
So those top 300 KQL will also work in the threat hunting. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the same thing. I'm saying it's KQL at the end of the day.
Understood.
Right?
Understood.
So I'll share this. I'm saying this is the entire I would say the collection of all that I've learned. I'm saying because I deliver these trainings, so whenever I get a good document, I just dump it into my respective folder of that technology. So obviously, if I share all, that is nothing but it's overwhelming you with certain data that is not of use. So I'll share the data which is probably of some use for you that will help you in your day-to-day use cases. And whenever you feel that you need some specific information, just drop me a note. I'm saying you have my email address. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a note on LinkedIn. I will probably get in touch with you and get on a phone call and try to help you with that part. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's move on, guys. So these were the common KQL that I was talking about. Then comes onboarding of log sources and integration with third-party log sources. So we have onboarded log sources, which is nothing but data connectors and third-party resources. So we have configured that log sources here in Sentinel. So when we go to Sentinel, what have we configured here? We've configured a couple of log sources. Log sources is nothing but data connectors. You can also onboard third-party data connectors. So if I go to Content Hub, which is a collection of solution, so this is where you've seen that we have done a lot. So these are all the log sources. So we have done, if I click on status, I'll see all installed. So we have done these onboarding of log sources. This I can also do third party, but I can do third party when I have something actually, right? So for example, if I have virus total, I can ingest logs from virus total here. Let's say I want to ingest logs from let's say I want to ingest logs from CrowdStrike. Let me see if CrowdStrike is available. Yep, CrowdStrike Falcon endpoint protection is available. So I can directly create this third-party log connector. I just need to do installation. Once this will be installed, then I will just need to provide my CrowdStrike credentials to Microsoft Sentinel. I'm saying I need to do the configuration, and then CrowdStrike Falcon endpoint protection, which is similar to Microsoft Defender for EDR, those logs will start to get ingest into this workspace which Sentinel uses. And that way, you will directly have CrowdStrike alerts, CrowdStrike investigations into Sentinel. So that's what you can do. So this is, so basically this part, which you see here, which says onboarding of log sources and integration with third-party resources services, refers to the Content Hub part. That how do you make use of Content Hub and how do you basically deploy most important, how do you deploy the most important solutions. So once you have installed it, then you go to manage. Now I cannot say that this one is important for you, this one is not important. It differs from customer to customer, environment to environment. That's the reason I'm sharing the process, that you should be aware of the process, and then whichever solution it is, the process remains the same. So over here, you can see a couple of data connectors are there. So you can, if you want your CrowdStrike Falcon IOCs to be ingested into Sentinel, you can enable this connector. You can deploy this connector. You can also have CrowdStrike Falcon data replicator. This one is deprecated, so let's not use it. So you can use one of these. It will use Azure Function as a service to get all the data from CrowdStrike. But there is no point of doing it because I don't have access to CrowdStrike as we speak, right? So this is what you can do. So this is about the connectors or about onboarding of log sources. Are you with me on this, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Then
so
comes
regarding this integration part, I have one question. So
sure.
basically, so Sentinel is having this CrowdStrike Falcon endpoint protection, right? So it can be
Sentinel has
integrated
a
with the
data connector for it, or you can say Sentinel has integration for it.
right, as an integration for it. But when we try to integrate Microsoft Defender for endpoint with other SIMs other than the Sentinel, okay, so why does the right, like Event Hub, the solution like Event Hub has came into the picture, and uh, why Microsoft has not kept it simple? Because sometimes customers ask about that.
You're right, Kunal, but then understand the business. No company would want to lose their customer. Why would Microsoft want you to stream its log to a third-party solution? Microsoft would always want you to bring logs into Microsoft portal, right? So that is the reason. But Event Hub is the service, that is a streaming service. Through Event Hub, you can stream logs to different non-Microsoft products. So let's say you want to send Microsoft Defender for endpoint logs into Splunk. You can use Event Hub, or you can use, so Splunk has a direct connector with Microsoft, so you can use that connector. So there are multiple options. Sometimes you do integration using API. Sometimes you write a custom API. Sometimes you use a data connector, which is natively available. Sometimes you write a custom connector. So that's how it is. And so that's how business runs. And as a technical person, we will need to enable that functionality, either by leveraging the direct option which is available, or by writing something custom, probably a script that will get the logs, or you can write a parser. You can use a parser to get the logs and then put it into the other system.
Right. That's we have
Probably
used
Microsoft,
in
let's
some
say
of.
the log format that Microsoft uses is different. Splunk uses a different format. Now, even if you get a connector, what is the point of it? So you need a parser. So there are ways to achieve, there are ways to address a problem statement. You just need to keep your mind open and be receptive to ideas, and then think out of the box, take advantage of the information which is available on the internet, or speak to an expert, something who has done something, who has been into that scenario in the past, someone who has achieved or resolved that scenario. This is what I also do.
Okay.
There are times when I need information and I don't have access to it. So I approach I approach people who I know having good expertise into that solution.
Right.
Yeah.
So Event Hub is going to be there, or it has been deprecated because
No,
a
it will
while
be
ago
there.
we heard.
It will
Okay.
be there. That's the
Okay.
streaming solution from Microsoft. It will be there.
Okay.
Right?
Thank
So
you.
these are my solutions that I have. I have multiple solutions depending on that I can do. So I can do third party. Let's say if you're using Splunk, I can get Splunk logs also here. I'm saying Microsoft has a connector for Splunk also. No, not here. There is an option in the settings. Okay, over here. So what I can do, I'm saying if you don't get direct options, then this is the option. This is your workspace, which gets all the logs. You can enable diagnostic settings here, and you can stream all the logs that it is getting, all the logs which are there, all the matrices that comes here. You can say all logs, and you can stream to an event hub, and from there you can send it to wheresoever you want. So this is one option of doing it. Then you have direct integration sometimes available with solutions. You can take advantage of that direct integration. I remember that it used to be here under settings. I'm not just able to see it. It has to be part of settings, which I remember in Sentinel. Content hub, repositories, workspace, data connectors. No, this is not the place. Yeah, it used to be part of settings wherein you have direct integration of Splunk and Sentinel. I just don't see that integration. There was a data connector. I don't know where that connector is. Maybe Microsoft has removed it. How to export data from Splunk to Sentinel. So this is from Splunk to Sentinel. Okay. Okay, they're using to use common event framework. Logdash or common event framework. So they've removed the direct integration, which means. So they've removed direct integration. They're saying that you use the framework. I'm saying you use the CEF common event framework, and then you get all the logs in CEF, and from there you can ingest into Sentinel. So this is from Splunk UI. That this is what you can do from configure from Azure Sentinel add-on for Splunk. Yeah, so in the Splunk you will get Azure Sentinel add-on. You need to configure that add-on, and then you can send to Azure Sentinel the logs from Splunk. So you can do it from Splunk, but I remember there was a data connector. There used to be a data connector when they moved everything to Content Hub, they probably deprecated some of the data connectors. Because I remember there used to be a data connector which would make this process easy, wherein you can directly ingest Splunk logs into Microsoft Sentinel. And if it is about sending Microsoft Sentinel logs to Splunk, then you can use the event process. Are you with me on this?
Yeah, so
Yes.
yes. So I have one
Okay.
question, Raghuveer.
Yep.
So in Content Hub, in Content Source, there is a solution and there is a standalone. So what is the difference between solution and standalone?
So when it comes to standalone, so let's say, for example, this analytics, health and audit, right? This is a standalone solution, which basically means it is, so solution basically comprises, when you click on a solution, it comprises of multiple content, which is analytics rule, workbook, data connectors, hunting queries. For example, AWS solution comprises all of it, right? But if you click on this solution standalone, then it is just a workbook, nothing else. It's a workbook only. That's the reason it is saying standalone.
Okay, with respect to only one aspect, it will give you the results,
One
and
aspect.
the
I'm
other
saying it
one
could
is
be a workbook,
right.
it could be a data connector, it could just be a hunting query, it could be an automation rule. That's what standalone is.
Okay, understood.
That's what the difference between solution and standalone. So these are all standalone solutions. For example, you can see that this is a workbook. This is just the analytics rule, right? There is a hunting query. These are the hunting queries. So these are standalone solutions.
So we can also create our customized contents and feed it into here.
Yeah,
or is it
absolutely.
provided by
You can write a custom data connector also.
Okay.
That's also possible. You can click on data connectors, and I'm saying Microsoft gives you an option to write a custom data connector, and then you can basically use those custom data connectors also.
Okay.
So that option Microsoft gives you.
Okay. Yes.
And in fact, you can I'm saying if you have written a standalone solution, which can really bring some value to Microsoft Sentinel, you can share that solution with Microsoft Sentinel. If they really like it, then it will be added as a standalone solution.
Oh, so do you get any kind of royalty for that?
I don't think so they give any royalty for it, but they will put your name, whosoever is created. For example, this solution, if I go, it will show you the name of the person who created it. For example, author, Clive Watson. He's a Microsoft employee, and this is a great solution, workspace usage report. This is so with this solution, if you deploy this solution, it will give you a bird eye view of what is your average log ingestion per day volume, what is your per hour volume, from which solution you're getting more logs, from which solution you're getting less logs. It gives you a lot of visibility with respect to your workspace usage. I'm saying instead of just seeing one information that you have 2 terabyte of log ingestion per day, which doesn't tell you what is that 2 terabyte bifurcation. This workbook, which I've just installed, when I go to this workbook, I will get a lot of information here with respect to the usage, with respect to how logs are getting ingested into my solution. So
is it like EPS in our SIM language, events per second or something like that? So does it?
Yeah, usage report. You're right. Event per second. I'm saying event per second plus some additional information you get to see.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Right. So you can just, I'm saying, since you've just installed it, just wait for it to appear here. So as part of, I'm saying, if you want to know more, as I said, because in my Sentinel training, which is there on my channel, on a specific day, I was just talking about best practices or additional recommendations or additional solutions that you can install, standalone solutions. So there is a session on standalone solution wherein I identified some top 15 standalone solutions which are freely available in Sentinel and which can provide you a lot of insights in your SIEM environment from optimization perspective, from both performance and cost optimization perspective, from security perspective, from health of the solution perspective, from dashboarding perspective. A lot of capabilities are there.
Okay. Yeah. So we will go through that for sure. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. So let's move on, guys. So this was the difference between standalone and that. Okay. Then comes configuration of default and custom analytics rule. Let's go ahead and configure the first. We'll configure some default rules and then custom analytics rule also. So let's start with the configuration.
Raghuveer, those files you showed us, right? You said you'll share the 100 KQL queries and.
Yeah, that I will share as part of the deliverables.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's move on. So that workbook that we just installed, it is just taking time to appear. It will start to appear here. Under my workbook, you will see the workbook here. So you see templates. Over here, you will see the workbook, which is here. Workspace usage report. You will click on template. And here you will see the usage report. The best part is it will give you. So obviously this is right now our environment is more of a non-production environment on the virtual machines which are sending logs to workspace. There is no activity happening on those virtual machines, but in a production environment, you get all of this information. See, you will get information from latency perspective, from cost analysis perspective, regarding Microsoft Sentinel, anomalies, data ingestion trends, a lot of information, I will say. So this is one workbook that I always suggest to my customers to install, that gives them more than what they need information. So there are similar to this, there are top 15, 16 solutions that you can think of. Okay, so let's go with the configuration of default and custom analytics rule. So I'll navigate to Sentinel once again. And let's go to the analytics. So how do you install default analytics rule? The default, which means out of the box, you basically navigate to the content hub. In order to install the analytics rule, now you will have standalone analytics rule also, but let's first talk about the analytics rule from the solutions that we have deployed. So if I just go to the installed solutions, these are the solutions that we have installed. Now these solutions contains analytics rules. If you see content type, for example, in Azure activity, there are 13 analytics rules, one data connector and some additional information. So let's click on Azure activity and we'll click on manage. So this is how we will install the custom analytics rule. Azure activity. Now here you will see all of these analytics rule. These are the rules. Let's say this is so if you look from the production perspective, this is what we do. We monitor and say this is more from a cost perspective, but Sentinel has this capability that if I create any excessive compute in Azure, any higher configuration virtual machine in Azure, Sentinel will quickly generate an alert. However, the right approach is to create an Azure policy, and I'm saying instead of doing this, so it will generate an alert after it is done. Understand, it's a reactive solution. You create an expensive compute and the alert will be generated. So for this, I would rather suggest you to do this. Instead of doing this, you can create an Azure policy.
Raghu, can you zoom the screen bit when Sentinel is open?
Sure.
It's very.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah. So what you can do, you can click on policy. You can go to definitions. And here you can see allowed SQ. And here's the no. So directly this is allowed SQ. Just say VM SQ. Yep, this is. No, not this one. Let me do it the other way. All definition type, all policy types, categories. So directly go to compute. This is part of FinOps section A. So you go to compute and then you say SKU. Okay, allowed virtual machine size SKUs. So here you can create this policy, assign policy, and here you can define the allowed SKU for your organization. You can, apply this policy to your subscription. There is no exclusion here. Just click on next, next, and here you can select all the SKUs. It will show you all the SKUs which are there in this subscription, which are allowed in this subscription, all the sizes. You can pick and choose the sizes here. It shows you the comprehensive list of sizes. Whatever sizes you want to allow, you can select those sizes here. For example, I allow B2MS, any sizes that you want to allow, standard B2S, whatever sizes you want to allow, you just select those sizes here. Click on next, next, put a non-compliance message if you wish, which is you are not allowed to provision a VM, provision a virtual machine with this size for a list of allowed sizes. Kindly contact the admin like this. Click on next and then create this policy. So what will happen now from this moment onward, as soon as the policy is created, it takes effect instantly. From this moment onward, no user, irrespective of the role, whether user is a owner, whether user is contributor, or user is virtual machine contributor, irrespective of the role, nobody will be able to provision a virtual machine other than those sizes which are there in the allowed list. Right? So if you want to see a demo of it, I'll go and provision a virtual machine and you will see. This is a proactive way of doing it. Then you also have reactive way in Sentinel, wherein somebody was able to bypass the security, then Sentinel can also tell you as a reactive measure once that activity is done. So you can see I'm trying to provision a virtual machine. Testing VM, no infrastructure needed, standard. I'll just go with the default options. And the size intentionally, you can see none of the size is available. I'll go to see all sizes and you can see blocked by policy, right? The sizes are blocked by policy. These all sizes are blocked by policy. I'm not able to select the size. Policy is taking impact here. So it will not allow me to select a size right now because the size that I've allowed, which is B2MS, that size, I can only choose that size. So I can go to size. So typically it shows you the size that you can use. So this is just a synchronization issue. Basically here, you will see all the sizes which are blocked by policy, and then you will see the size which is allowed by policy. So here you will see the size which is allowed by policy. And you can only select that size. Rest of the size you will not be able to select. This is the concept of it. Make sense, guys? Is everyone with me?
Yes.
So basically there is an option, it says showing 11 of 785 sizes. There should be a button here wherein I can go to the next page and select a size. That button is not coming, just synchronization, I know. So that's the concept of policy. So you can probably create a policy for this kind of behavior instead of putting an analytics rule, because analytics rule will only alert you or will generate an incident once that activity is done. And you don't want that to happen. You want to have that blocked while it is getting done. So we'll go to a solution. So these are my default analytics rule. Default analytics rule, it says subscription route, suspicious number of resources created, creation of expensive compute, Microsoft Entra ID. So these are the default analytics rule. Suspicious granting of permissions to an account. So my default analytics rule. Let's go to another. I just want to show you the, for example, let's go to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Manage. Now it has only one analytics rule, which is detect core backup deletion. So this is not the one. So this is where we create default analytics rule. I'm saying we have very limited solutions installed. So I can show you some from Entra ID, because you have a couple of rules from Entra ID. Okay. So from Entra ID, we can see a couple of views. For example, let's say this user assigned new privilege role. A user is assigned a new privileged role, then this is a default rule. So how do you deploy a default analytics rule? We just click on the rule. It will show you the rule information. It says that this rule will identify when a new eligible or active privileged role is assigned to a user, does not alert on PIM activation. Any account eligible for a role is now being given privileged access if the assignment is unexpected into a role that isn't responsibility of the account holder. So this is the rule. This is the query against the rule where it says this is the query. So what it will do, if a privileged role is assigned to any identity, privileged role should be assigned through PIM. But if a privileged role is directly assigned to an identity, it will quickly generate an alert. That's what this rule is all about. So if you want to configure this rule, all you need to do is just select the rule and hit create rule. So you will click on create rule like this, and all the fields will be pre-configured. Because it's a default rule. So you don't need to make any changes. Just go with the default configuration, click review, and then it will do the validation and save it. So this is how you deploy a default analytics rule, which is part of a solution that you have already installed. So you've just deployed that rule. Similarly, you can see additional rules here. These are all the analytics rules that you have. You can see this rule, which is a great rule, which also contributes to the brute force attack. So this rule says successful logon from IP and failure from a different IP. So what is happening? It identifies when a user account successfully logs on to an Azure app, which includes Azure Portal, or which includes M365 or Security Portal or Intune Portal or Dynamics Portal, SharePoint Portal, to an Azure app from one IP, and within 10 minutes fail to log on to the same app via a different IP. So from one IP it is able to log in, but from a different IP it is not able to log in. It says may indicate a malicious attempt at password guessing with known accounts. So I am a privileged user. I'm logged into Azure Portal, and within 10 minutes, my account is getting used to log in to Azure Portal from a different IP address, probably from a different country. Then this will trigger an alert, and this will be enabled by UEBA added for context. So this will go into the UEBA also, user and entity behavior analyst. So you can create this rule like this. So you just need to, so that is where I will share you some top, top 100 or let's say top 50 Sentinel, analytics rule that should be, that I have deployed in organizations or that should be deployed. So here you can see the logic. This is the logic of the rule. And then you can just click on that automated response. There's nothing. And you can just validate it and save it. Now, so this is how you basically deploy the configuration of default rules. So you're deploying default rules like this. You can see other default rules also from whatever you've configured. Let's go to another content solution that we've installed. So we have installed solution for storage account also, right? So let's log in. Let's look for that solution. Over here. So this is the solution. We'll go and manage this solution. And we will also deploy one default analytics rule from here. Okay, this solution doesn't contain any analytics rule. It only contains data connector. So obviously, if it doesn't contain, so there is no out of the box default rule which is available in this solution. Similarly, if you have deployed more, you can look for it. The additional solutions that you have deployed, accordingly, you can see the analytics rule for those solutions. So status all, I'll say installed. In a production environment, you will have a lot of capabilities. In a lab environment, you can only depend on what you have installed so far. So let's say if this contains any. So it contains 40 analytics rule. Let's go to manage. Let's deploy some default analytics rule for Sentinel also.
Raghuveer, actually, that workspace usage related workbook we selected, but it is not. It has not came under analytics yet. So there is a synchronization issue, we can say.
No, it will not come under analytics. It will come under workspace.
Okay.
I'll show you where it comes. So for example, these are some rules from Defender XDR, which includes multiple products of Defender, right? So you can see a couple of rules here. These are all the rules that you can see here. You can think what is important for your environment. For example, in a production environment, we typically configure this rule, which is log on local admin group changes. Wherever there's a change in the local admin group, whenever you add a user into the local admin group, it says the query searches for changes to the local administrator group. Now, local administrator group is very critical. What if somebody adds a user to local administrator group? Then obviously that system is in control. So you can configure this rule. Similarly, there is a rule which is unusual volume of file deletion by users, which means all of a sudden users with privileged access, they are deleting files. How will you know? Because you're not enabling performance measures. So Sentinel will quickly catch it. So it says the query looks for users performing a file deletion activity. Spike in file deletion observed from risky sign-ins are flagged here. This applies to SharePoint and OneDrive users also. So these are the rules that you can think of. Or AV detections related to Ukraine threats. So we have recently got some threats from Ukraine. You can see here. So these are the rules that you can align. Now, for example, deletion of data on multiple drives using zipper.exe. This is a malware which is deleting the data. Eminent ransomware if there is on the system. AV detection related to Terrasec malware. So you have a couple of rules. Account creation rule, which is, so this rule will basically, it says user accounts may be created to achieve persistence on a machine. Read more here. So it says query for users being created using net user command. Net user commands are noisy, so needs to be joined with another signal. So this is another rule that will get triggered. So this is how, so I'm just explaining the process. This is how So the first thing is to identify the solutions or identify the use cases or your security use cases that you want to enable through Sentinel. Once you've identified the use cases, then comes the second thing, which is to identify a solution that addresses that use case. Once you identify the solution, install the solution. As part of solution, you will get data connectors. You will get, as part of that solution, you will get data connectors. You will get analytics rule. You will get threat hunting queries. You may get workbooks also. So once that part is done, then deploy the workbook also. And after that, if there is any use case for which you don't have a default solution available, then go ahead and create a custom analytics rule. So we'll also create custom analytics rule probably tomorrow. So that's what we need to do. For example, let's say you've deployed Active Directory solution, right? Microsoft Entra ID solution. Now this solution contains two great workbooks, which provides you a lot of information from the dashboarding perspective. So what you can do, once the solution is deployed, as part of solution configuration, we've already enabled the connector, but it also provides two workbooks that I can show you. So these are the two workbooks. It says Microsoft Entra ID sign-in logs and Entra ID audit logs. So I can directly click on sign-in logs here, and I can configure this workbook. So this is the workbook. I can click on add workbook here. So Microsoft sign-in logs. View template. View template. And here you see this workbook. So this workbook gives you a lot of information. I'm saying this is just running right now. So you can see the information is coming for each user. I'm saying Defender for Defender XDR user. You can see the information around a lot of users. You can see all sign-ins, all successful, all failure, which triggered brute force attack, pending user action 17, when user was, because of conditional access, user requested for an additional additional factor authentication, but user did not respond. And here you can see the sign in by location bifurcation. So in India, from India, 127 sign in, from US 59. When you expand this, you will see in US, Washington 58, San Jose 1. And when you click on certain information, you get the additional information. Now you cannot get this level of detail from from Entra ID dashboard. So this workbook really works, really does the job for security admins, people who are into identity and access management domain. They need similar information wherein they get all the information. So when you click on a device, for example, Mac OS, Dave basically uses Mac OS. So Dave was signing in from Mac OS, and I can see they've used 49 times they've used Chrome, and one time they've also used Firefox. So when I click on it, I can see that detailed information also. But I need to have that up and running for some time to collate data. So all the information, Azure portal, when the recent sign-in applied, troubleshooting you can do, for example, this was invalid username because this was pointing to a, you can see 50.126. So this is related to a brute force attack from level 3 user, which I was explaining yesterday, which is exactly 25 hours ago. So when I was giving you a demo of brute force attack, I was using this level 3 user. So you can see that sign-in errors here. So it gives you a lot of capability here, this workbook. So this comes under best practices, wherein I have shared that information in my course, that what are my best practices, or how can I optimize my Sentinel operations by making use of most common analytics rule, some effective workbooks which are available that I can deploy, and I can make use of those workbooks for my day-to-day operational activities, as well as sending reports to management or for my internal consumption purpose. So whichever workbook you will deploy, that workbook will come under here. Under threat management, you see workbook. That is where you see templates. You will not see under my workbook. You will see it under template. So when you click on templates, So this website is working a bit slow today. Okay, over here, you will click on templates and here you see the workbook. For example, we've just, we were looking at these workbooks, Microsoft Entra ID sign-in logs. So here you can see the workbooks. This workspace usage alert is here. So this workbook is a standalone workbook. You just select the workbook and view on template. And if you want to use it in future, let's say I want to use this workbook in future, then I can click on save. So I hit save and then I can save this workbook in the region. Let's say I save this workbook is in US East. Let's go with the default region, US West. Now the workbook is getting saved. Okay. So workbook is saved, you can see here. Now it will show under my workbooks. So once the workbook is saved, then you can always see that workbook under my workbook. So you can click on my workbook and you will see this workbook all the time. Now you can double click on this workbook. It's just running a bit slow system. So click on workbook once again. Then select the workbook and then you can see view saved workbook. You can click on view saved workbook and then you will be able to see the details from the workbook and which will automatically update all the time. Right? For example, it says the query could not run because some parameters are not set. Please select workspace. So I will need to select my workspace and then it will start to give me data about this workspace. See, the moment I selected the workspace, I have all the data. That what are the typical logs which are coming in? So logs are coming in from these tables, which is Azure activity logs, and you can see the volume of the logs. So majority of the logs are coming from events, which is data collection rules that I've created. 164 MBs of log have come in the last 30 days, right? And the average log ingestion per day is around 100 MB. This is 0.1 GB. So around 100 GB of logs are coming every day. And you can see all the tables where logs are coming. So this gives you a fair idea that how logs are coming, for which connector logs are coming, all that information. Then you can see the table entries count. So this shows you workspace usage, that these are event logs, all the information that you need. I would say very minute information that will help you to optimize your workspace usage. This is something that you will not get in log analytics. So you can see all the information, that majority of the logs are coming from here. Right? This is the workspace details, all the information. So a lot of information is there in the workbook. Now, if I go back to the, let's say log analytics workspace, and if I see that if I have similar capability there, this is the log analytics workspace. Here I also have a workbook. But this workbook will not provide me that information. For example, this usage. If I click here, this also shows me the workbook. It says, now it is bringing the data, but very limited options. See, it will not show me the same amount of option. So that is where I can use the native workbook, which is there with the solution, as well as the workbook as a solution available in Sentinel, and collectively use them to get more insights. That's the concept of workbook, which is a pre-configured dashboard. And at any point in time, if you want to create your own custom workbook, you can also do that. Sentinel allows you that part. So you can see majority of the logs are coming from this VM, which is 85% of the logs are basically getting ingested from this VM. Why? Because this VM is running down the clock. You all are logging into this VM. So majority of the logs are contributed to the workspace is basically coming from this VM, which is 90% of the size. So if the workspace size is 1 GB, then 91% of that size is consumed by the logs which are coming from this VM. So the more you practice, the more visibility, the more experience level and comfort level you get with the solution. So practice is the key here. Making sense, guys? I hope I'm not going too difficult.
No, that it's really making sense. Raghu, just a question. The analytical rules, analytics rule that we will check and we will start using it. For it to be executed, a compute has to be used, right? Because large number of signals would be coming in. So how does it charge to the customer based on compute? Like if I have 100 analytical use, my consumption of compute will be higher. So
No, it has nothing to do with that. No, that's not how it happens. See, analytics rule is a capability of Sentinel. You already are paying for the Sentinel. So understand the Sentinel pricing. So how it happens, Sentinel will charge the, so when I go to the Sentinel, see, understand this is how it happens. So understand the Sentinel billing, that how Sentinel is billing you. So what happens in Sentinel, this is the billing of Sentinel pricing. So how Sentinel is billing you? Sentinel bills you on two models. The first model is, it says Microsoft Sentinel is built based on the volume of data ingested for analysis, right? So if you are ingested, let's say you are ingesting 10 GB of data every day. Now that 10 GB of data is getting analyzed by Sentinel. How? Based on the analytics rule. And how it is getting analyzed? Based on the frequency of those analytics rule. So when Sentinel runs an analytics rule, let's say you have 10 analytics rule and they are configured to run at a frequency of 1 hour each. So which means in a day, each analytics rule will run 24 times because they run every hour. Now, how much data Sentinel will analyze when an analytics rule run? That is the basis of billing from Sentinel. So what you need to do while you build your analytics rule, you need to optimize them. It should not happen that you're building an analytics rule that runs every hour, but it looks for data of last 24 hours. Then it means that Sentinel runs that rule every hour, and when it runs, it analyzes the data of last 24 hours, which is, let's say, 10 GB. Then obviously you will be billed more. So the concept here is on the basis of analysis that Sentinel does. That's the concept. So you need to optimize your analytics rule in such a manner that they are not first minimize the analytics rule as much as possible. The more analytics rule you have, the more billing you will incur. So only have explicit, I'm saying only have limited analytics rule which are bare minimum for your SOC operations. If Sentinel provides you 1,000 capabilities, but you only need 10 of them, there is no point of enabling all 1,000. What is the point of doing it? So try and minimize the configuration as much as needed. In most of the companies, they really bleed a lot when it comes to SOC operations, when it comes to a SIEM and SOAR solution. So when it comes to cloud-based SIEM and SOAR solution, this is what you need to do. So in outside of cloud, like say Splunk, you have EPS concept, event per second concept. So you try to optimize on EPS. In cloud-based SIEM and SOAR solution, you try to optimize on the configuration. So that's the logic that you need to understand. Now, whether Sentinel uses a system in the backend, what it uses, it is secondary to you. What is most important to you is to configure your analytics rule in such a manner that they are not unnecessarily analyzing a volume of data, because you will be charged based on the number of times an analytics rule runs on in a 24 hours of clock, plus how much data it will analyze when it runs every time. So the combination of this contributes to your billing of Sentinel. That's the logic.
No, yeah, understood.
Yeah. That's the reason you can see if you are ingesting 100 GB of data, you're paying around 29,000 rupees per day, which is around, I would say, if you're paying this amount, which is your monthly cost is going to be around 15 lakh rupees for Sentinel. So optimization is one aspect that you need to be aware of. And that is where that workspace usage report over here, you can see workspace usage report here is also. So that workspace usage report becomes very important for you. So this will give you a fair idea of what your current license or plan is and how you are using it, and that is where you can allow. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. I think we are good. That is all. Let's not do anything else today. So let's summarize what we have done so far, and then we'll probably continue tomorrow. Okay. So I've shown you the workboard, dashboarding, and reporting also. This is something that we will do tomorrow. First thing, we'll do custom analytics rule on Sentinel, and then we will also do some aspects of Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And I am 100% sure that whatever you've configured today has implemented by now, has taken effect by now. So you can go ahead and check it. If it doesn't, then probably tomorrow you can check it. It must work. So we'll continue with this. We will continue tomorrow with configuration of additional capabilities on Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Cloud App Security, Microsoft Sentinel, and Microsoft Defender for Identity also. Right? So that's what we will continue to do. Please make sure that you, that you follow the session recording, and anything that we have done today, please configure it. If I have configured it for one solution, which is anytest.exe, it doesn't mean that you only configure it for one solution. You can probably go a step ahead and configure this for, let's say, TeamViewer, right? TeamViewer.exe. You can do it for logmein.exe. You can do it for any solution. Let's say you don't want VLC media player to be allowed in your environment. You can do VLC media player to X, whatever is the exe name. So just think of 3-4 solutions. At least you should configure 3 to 4 solutions so that you can have a comprehensive understanding of the indicators part, and configure it from all the way. I'm saying put the IP addresses, put the hashes, put the certificates, and as well as the URL and domain of these solutions, so that you have a comprehensive security control in place. Is everyone with me on this?
Yes, Raghu.
Okay, great. Anything else, guys? That any question from the topics that we have covered today? Okay, if there are no more questions, we'll close the session for today. And first thing, when we join the session tomorrow, I would like you to, show me your system and the configuration that we did today and yesterday, and show me the implementation of it. And if it is not working, that is absolutely fine, but the configuration has to be correct. And if the configuration is correct, it must be working. I do not find a reason that why it should not work. However, there are times it happens that even though the configuration is correct, the impact is not there, effect is not there. So in trainings, we do not really, spend more time in troubleshooting, because the ultimate goal is to understand the concept, not to get into the troubleshooting mode. So even if it works for one person, I would understand that part completed. And if it doesn't work for somebody, we'll try and troubleshoot and see where exactly you've gone wrong. So that's what we are going to do tomorrow. So please make sure that whatever we have done today, you replicate the same in your respective tools and environment. If you have any specific questions from these tools that we are covering, make a note of it. Ask those questions when I begin the session every day. If I don't have ready-made answer, I will make sure to come back with answer, probably on the same day or the subsequent day.
Raghu.
Yes.
Sorry. I have onboarded, I have created, I have 5 machines. Now in Defender, it's only reflecting only one machine in Intune, but showing unknown only, they're managed by unknown only. I onboarded, I installed in all the machines, the ATP I installed. But I don't know, when I'm accessing some machines, it's showing when I try to download the ATP onboarding package, it's blocked. I don't know why it is. Then I am downloaded it on host machine. Then I copied there.
It is blocked where? On your local system or on the machine itself?
On the machine itself.
Did you configure that antivirus policy today?
Today I configured, yes.
And
Yesterday,
after
but I
configuring the
onboarded,
policy, you
yeah.
downloaded, or before the policy you
No,
downloaded?
yesterday I don't, yeah.
So I don't find a reason that why it should get blocked, because we don't have any policy configured, right? And by
Yeah.
default, Defender for Endpoint will not block its own executable because it trusts it. So I don't see a reason that why it should get blocked. But if your machines are not showing in the portal, even after 24 hours, I would suggest you to follow that process, which is log
manual.
into the machine, go to settings, go to add sign-in options, add work or school account, and add Defender XDR account. So that way the machine will be quick to reflect into the portal. That's a workaround, not recommended by Microsoft, but that works 100% of the time.
Okay. Actually, I keep the virtual machines on today to reflect, but only one is reflected now. Today, I will try that manual machines which are not reflected.
And please make sure that your machines are running overnight, because as I said, I would say it takes time. Sometimes, for example, we created a policy today, right? Is Innocent VMs are working? All of them are on. Innocent, your virtual machines are all of them on? Your Azure virtual machines?
Yes.
Okay. So no, I was asking another person. So basically, for example, in the Defender for Endpoint, no, he has one machine up and running that I can see. I'll tell you which machine is up and running. So if I go to endpoint security, see this antivirus. Over here, I had this policy which I created, production policy. And in this policy, see it succeeded on all the machines. So if I go to the report, and see all the machines, it got success. So your all machines are up and running actually, as per Intune. So this got successful. So this is something. So now that it has got successful, there is a probability that the package will be blocked by Defender. But for that, I have the file path. I can put an exclusion in the file path or the file extension. But this happens once in a while that Defender is blocking itself. Typically, Defender is configured to not block itself.
Yeah, right? Raghu, can I share the screen? Just see this. It's looking so strange. Sure. 1 second.
Yeah.
I will see. This is the one system icon, virtual machine. I try to log in security.microsoft.com. I'm able to sign in is successful, but you don't have access to this. See here this.
So this Microsoft Defender, with this user, you actually, no, I'm asking where exactly are you logging in? Where are you? You are inside the which machine?
Wait 1 second.
I want to know where are you logging in? This is
one.
So this is my JumpForce portal.
Not JumpForce portal. See this in from the JumpForce portal. I log into 172. 1 second. This is.
Okay.
This is Windows 2K19 system I created. In this I try to install.
Log into security.microsoft.com.
Yeah.
Just type it once again. Just close the browser. I want to see it from scratch.
Yeah. Once. Yesterday I downloaded from JumpPost, then I copied here and onboarded it.
No. First, let's fix that portal part. I want to see that portal part.
Yeah, sure.
The machines are up and running?
Yes. Yesterday, when I on the machine, so the policy should be applied. So
today they were up and running, right? That was the reason policy got applied.
Yeah, so you kept them off.
So now you can turn them off. It is unnecessarily causing him money. Okay. Go to Azure portal. I want to see whether this user has access. Did you remove access of this user?
Yeah, no. Because this user is global admin access to configure the
Okay,
Defender
that's
and
okay.
everything.
Just show me in the Azure. Go to Microsoft Entra ID.
Yeah.
Show me the user. Go to assigned roles. Okay, global admin, direct permanent. Go to licenses. Your left, you see licenses also. That's the reason. You have the reason yourself. Where does this user have Microsoft Defender license? So user is the login is successful because the user account credentials are correct. User is a global admin. So a global admin can log into any portal which is authenticated by Microsoft Entra ID. That's the reason you're able to log in. But tell me where exactly this user has Microsoft Defender license. This user doesn't have a license. That's the reason user is not able to log in. But if you log in with this user, so now go to assignment on the assignments and assign the license. Select that Microsoft 365 license. This one.
Okay.
Right now, click on save. At the bottom left, save it. This is for other participants also. Guys, when one person is sharing the problem, you may have the same problem. Even if you don't have, this is giving you an opportunity to know if something similar comes, how do you troubleshoot? So now what you're doing, you are assigning license to your user, right?
Okay.
Now with this license in place, you will see that your user will be able to see the portal. Let it just complete. Click on that bell icon. I want to see whether it is done. Bell icon. Okay, great. Close it. Go back to the previous tab. And I want to see against this user that it is reflecting.
Yes.
Great. It is reflecting. Now go back to your login. It will perfectly work fine. Refresh the screen. You will be able to see the portal. Do it once more time. Just close this browser and do it again.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No.
That's okay. That's okay. Click on more details. And so this is just coming from the cache. Click on more details.
Yes.
Just give me 1 minute. Device identifier not 365. I hope you have not configured any conditional access policy.
No. I didn't configure.
No problem. Just close this browser tab.
Yeah.
Close this browser and go to your local system. Come to your local system. Forget the machine for a moment. Come to your local machine.
My machine.
Yeah, local machine.
Yeah.
Open incognito on your local machine. Incognito.
Yes.
Now type admin.microsoft.com. Admin.microsoft.com. Login. Log in with that user.
Defender.
The Defender user.
I don't think it's accessible in my TCS laptop.
Okay. See, this is just cache, nothing else. Can you put that credentials? Let me access it.
Oh, yeah.
Just put that credential. Let me just try it on my system. Then you can change the password.
No problem. Username.
And this is happening from where?
From yesterday, I think when I'm trying to
Before
onboard.
yesterday, you were able to log in?
Yeah, I'm able to log in. First day, I actually downloaded the ATP from by logging in VMs and all. From yesterday, I think I'm facing issue when
That's
trying to
okay. Give me
download.
a moment. We'll fix it. I'm trying to log in. Give me a moment. Okay, let's do one thing. Probably this user has got some issue. Let's create another user. Let's go ahead and create another user in your AD. This is okay. Just copy the auto-generated password. No, don't change the password. Copy the password. You will need to change it on first login. Yeah. Copy it. That's it. This is not the password. This is copy it from here. Yeah. Close that. Yeah. Add role, make him global admin. Review plus create. Refresh the page once, then copy the user URL. And say go back to that user actually. Go to that user and assign that user license also. assign both P1, P2 and the other one. Yep. Oh, yeah, assign it. Wait. Yep, go back to the previous tab and see whether license is coming. Okay, great. User has got license. Now go to the portal, log in with this user. And don't open incognito. Over here also open incognito. Yep. Ask later. So you're logging in. So that user account has got some issues. I will say probably initially you were not able to log in because no license was assigned, right? Now you've just assigned the license and it may take some time to get synchronized. That could be the reason you're not able to log in with that user. But this new user, you've just created this new user in your Entra ID tenant and assign appropriate license to this user, and he has access to it now. Now just maximize the screen and go to settings. I just want to make sure. Okay, so you've got all the things now working for you. Is that Windows 2019 or 2022, the one that you are downloading the package for? Which machine is this that you are on? Srinath, are you listening to me? While you are sharing your screen, never go on mute.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm saying that now this user is working.
2019. 2019,
yeah,
I think.
whatever that is. What I'm trying to say, now that your user account is working, you've got access to the portal. Please make sure that you onboard all the servers, leave them up and running tonight, so that next couple of hours they are onboarded into portal. They are shown as managed by MDE, so that you can create a group and you can follow what we did today. The IOC part, the policies, all that.
Policy I created, only one system is reflected in Intune. For that one system only I added in the policy when you are doing that policy creation, and I created at the same time. That one system only I have added. If it is reflected, I have added to that group. That all the these two systems.
Okay.
Which
is good.
Yeah.
So now you need to make sure that you have other systems also added to the same. I'm saying once these systems are onboarded into Intune, then go back to that group and modify the group to accommodate these 3 additional systems, and then you don't need to do anything because rest of the configuration will always use the group. So depending on the number of endpoints in the group, the policies will get enforced on those endpoints. Right?
Yeah, sure. I will add that group, add the machines on that group once it is reflected.
Absolutely. Now, if you don't see these machines getting shown, if these machines do not, reflect as managed by MDE, let's say by tonight, then logging to these machines, go to settings and manually onboard them.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. The manual option and use this account only. The account that you are using to download and onboard the package. The same account you use. Don't use the previous account, but I'm sure that previous account will also start working in some time. The reason it was not working because it did not have the license assigned to it. That's the reason you were not able to see the portal.
Okay. And for 2016, the 2016 version, you have given one link to download the KB article to update. That KB article, we need to when we need to run the KB article before installing the onboarding the package or after onboarding the package.
No, before onboarding the package. Your package will not be successful. The onboarding will not be successful. You need to install the KB article. Then you need to install the another file which is there in the 2016, and then you need to onboard the package. Just go to 2016. I'll show you what it is. I'm saying just go to on the same page. Don't go to 2016. On this page, just scroll it up. I just want to show that what is there in 2016. Select 2016. You will see two files basically.
Installation package and
obviously. So first you need to download the KB, download and install the KB. After the KB is installed, then install the installation package and then download the onboarding package and using the script onboard it. This is the three-step process.
Okay. When I try KB article also, we need to download through command prompt only, right? With the same procedure.
KB article, there is already a URL that I shared. You just use that URL to download the KB article and then install it. The typical installation process.
Okay.
Because so the process is KB article, then installation package, then onboarding package. This is the three-step process.
Sure. KB article, when I clicked it, run as an administrator, it doesn't show anything. That's why I try to install
it
through
will
command
not show. It will show you a command prompt and then it will disappear automatically, which means that the article is installed. That's how it happens.
That also not happened to me. It doesn't show me command.
Try it this time. If it doesn't work, we will see it tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, but let's get rest of the systems onboarded.
Yeah, sure. I will do.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else having any questions? All right. If there are no more questions, guys, please make sure that you continue with this practice and have all the systems onboarded as we did today, so that we can continue with the next steps.
Okay.
Thank you all for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raghu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you all.